This is worth another 22,000 views. Joining us tonight to answer your questions and educate me is Colin Godby from Dust Moto. He's Mexican, so he's afraid of anything has to plug in the wall because it could shock him. But he says, what is the range on those appliances?
Capacity would be like running 5 microwaves full bore for an hour straight. The new capabilities of electric to offer, quiet, more riding opportunities, easier to learn.
Look at my body. I haven't looked like that since I was like 18.
At $14,000, I don't care how much power it is. I don't want my feet to spin. Sell me, ready for the show?
Live from Pahrump, Nevada, the Valley of the Dirt People, it's Tech Talk Taco Tuesday with your hosts, Jimmy Lewis and Logan Tyler. Okay. I think Logan's dad's here tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, Logan's not here. He got put on detention for not being. He can't be on the show. What happened?
Yeah, I don't know. He just likes to sleep too much, I think.
Oh, you clipped him. You clipped my best co-host ever.
Right.
So welcome everybody. This is Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. This is episode number 234.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a lot of those.
That's a lot, huh?
And it's a Jimmy and Jimmy show. So I am Jimmy Lewis. I am a washed-up ex-motorcycle racer that talks a lot about how fast I used to be. Jimmy Tyler is a professional doorman.
Carpenter, yeah.
And this is my cat. You want to see my cat?
Professional mouse hunter.
Yeah, we got a cat here. Come here. Come on, bud. Come on. We got a cat tonight. Cats are really good for ratings.
They're protectable.
Hey, you little monster. You were on the screen. Don't step on the keyboard. She's leaning into it because she knows she just gets beat up all the time. You were on the title card for the show. But okay, so since we talk about motorcycle and motorcycle-related products and cats, we're also going to talk about electric motorcycles. And joining us tonight to answer your questions and educate me is Colin Godby from Dust Moto. And I'm going to push the right button here. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me, Jimmy's.
There we go. Yeah.
Good to meet
So
you, Colin.
welcome to the show. I told you this cat was going to be a problem. We'll just take care of her right now. There we go. Okay. So Dust Moto, an all-American dirt bike company that just so happens to be electric.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. We've been around since 2023 and we're working on our development journey and working to build, one of the funnest bikes possible out there. Whether you're a fan of gas or electric bikes, I think you'll like what we're trying to build.
Right. Like I mentioned to you yesterday, I've been accused of being an electric bike hater, which is not true. It's just that when I hear about things, I tend to, I ask the questions or I know the answers to the questions that are something, so a long time ago when they first started coming, I'm like, this is a big ask to make a motorcycle run on batteries to the level we're used to with gas. I mean, when I first started riding these different electric bikes, we hadn't even really had electric cars yet. I mean, that was kind of there were I think Honda had one and there was a Prius that was kind of electric at the time. So it's happening quick. It's been a long road and it's gotten way better. And so I think someplace on social media a couple times I saw this thing about Dust Moto, and what was more interesting, I saw it was electric, is like these guys are in Bend, Oregon. That's an interesting zone. There's a lot going on there.
Yep.
And so I'm like, how come I haven't heard about this? Because I don't know if you know, but I used to be the editor of this magazine. It was called Dirt Rider Magazine.
Yep.
It was the world's biggest dirt bike magazine. And then it went away. And I used to pay attention to that stuff, but somehow I kind of stayed in the circles where I would still get contacted with something was new, but I saw it pop up on social media, and then somebody told me about it, and then someone from Bend mentioned it. And it's sort of like we'll call it crowdsourced or crowdfunded.
Yeah.
Is the launch. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, totally. I think when we got started a year ago, myself and kind of the other co-founders, we're coming from another kind of electric motorbike company called UBCO. It's actually a New Zealand-based company, and we're making 2-wheel drive sort of utility bikes, almost like Honda Trail 90s for like the modern era. And when we split and started Dust, we were, I would say, not starting with, massive bank accounts and checkbooks to really just kind of go from 0 to 100 miles an hour instantly, right? And we knew we needed to build this brand in an organic way, connected to the industry, and build a community around it. And one of the benefits we saw that we could offer to people following or even wanting to participate in some way, like purchase a bike, is we're starting from scratch, and there's not a lot of those stories being told out there in the industry where you can see what a company is doing, how they're making decisions around the bike, the type of use cases and customers that they're designing for. And so we said, let's do something really interesting, be radically transparent, and open this up to customers from literally the get-go. And so we created a program called Founders 50 last year, within the first couple months of starting. And we took on 50 customers for the first 50 bikes on a monthly kind of journey with us, where we opened up our development process and hosted monthly meetings, let them jump on board and ask the questions and give us sort of the real dirt on what they liked and didn't like and what was out there. And it's been massively valuable for us to make decisions along this path. And so we've kind of expanded that as we continue to build the company. We've given more opportunities for people to jump on board. And actually recently we opened up a WeFunder campaign, which is actually a community equity fundraise. So in addition to kind of taking investment through more typical methods, we've also allowed for folks to jump on board and own a piece of the business if they like what they see and join us for the journey. So at the end of the day, we know we're only going to succeed if people believe in what we're doing. And the best way to do that, build that belief and commitment, is to actually let them be a part of it. So.
Yeah. So, and you guys kind of, it sounds like you've been, I looked at your resumes and stuff. You guys have been around the electric business for a while in different forms. Mm-hmm. And now did you just find a better target as far as like, kind of the bike you want to build and the audience, and that's what kind of formed Dust?
Yeah, it was a combination of, I think, timing for the industry, and starting to see some new consumer behaviors, especially around these lighter electric bikes coming from overseas, lower cost bikes like Surons and kind of a lot of the copycats. We started to see a brand new type of rider interested in twisting the throttle on those machines. And even some of them are kind of following the upgrade path from Stasic to Super 73, then on to Suron. Not all of them are jumping over into, the 50s or the 65s and 85s to race, right? A lot of them are kind of doing it more recreationally. One of the observations we had around that new group or that new user base was they're not converting or bridging into traditional power sports. A lot of these folks are sort of staying in this e-moto or electric bike lane. And we saw this chance to actually create a product that bridges over into core moto and the traditional power sports industry. I think if the industry at large is going to be successful, I think there's a big piece of the challenge is bringing new riders and new blood and new families into the sport, right? And this was a massive opportunity kind of to jumpstart those initiatives. The other thing that we noticed was a lot of the previous electric efforts had been focused on kind of maximum performance. Telling the story of like electric is amazing and it's here to replace your gas bike. And at the end of the day, there are limitations to electric, and we fully own that. Like you can't get around physics and limitations of energy density and the battery tech today. And so we said, can we build a bike that's actually really interesting and fun for the high end rider, the experienced rider, pro racer, as well as the novice rider? And one of those realizations is the capability of electric drivetrain allows you to make kind of the most dynamic, responsive, fun bike sort of under 30 miles an hour, right? And when you think about riding,
and so so let's just break that slow and break that down.
Yeah.
So for people who aren't familiar, electric makes its maximum torque at 0 RPM.
correct.
Like it closer to 0, and then it progressively. I mean, you can tune it to do different things, but then it kind of goes down. So it's not really that good at high RPM. The power isn't that good at high RPM, so it's a little awkward.
Yeah.
When you're coming from something where the more throttle you give it, you're going to get generally more power. And so this is where I remember, like I was talking about riding the early ones, and I called them for what they were. Like the power controllers were like on-off switches. And it went bang, and then it fell flat on its face.
Yes.
And some people thought the method to fixing that was to go to a clutch and go to a transmission. And I'm like, no, you got to flip the throttle curve around somehow or another.
That's right.
And
that was a limitation to a lot of the earlier kind of motors and systems. They didn't have the fidelity of sort of throttle control. But you are right. Like when you're using electric motor without gears, you're fixed into sort of a torque, speed, power sort of arrangement. And if you really over-index on early, low RPM torque, you're going to eventually give up the higher RPM power, right? And so it's going to fall off. And so one of the things you start to feel with some of these bikes is like, okay, you start hitting 45 and it's not pulling as hard anymore. And, gas bike, you can grab some gears and it keeps pulling as long as you stay on it. And so that was part of our realization, is like, if we want to try to compete with the gas bikes, which are quite mature and, amazing, pulling all the way up, like third, fourth gear wheelies at speed, it's going to be a massive technical challenge to deliver an electric bike to do that. Right. And others have taken that initiative. For us, we said, like, there's actually a lot of unique riding characteristics that we can lean into at the lower speeds. And so we don't need to try to make this claim that we're replacing those bikes.
I'm all the time, I'm telling people, it's like they go, I want to make my bike faster. What should I put on it? Do I get an ECU to put a pipe? I'm like, no, you turn the throttle farther. and I've been involved in testing with, manufacturers, high level stuff where they have telemetry on the bike and stuff. And you see guys that are telling you that they're wide open and they're maybe 60% throttle on a 450.
Yeah.
And they're claiming they're wide open. And that's 60% throttle at maybe 3/4 of the RPM. So they're not using the full potential. I mean, yeah, top riders can use all the power some of the time.
Yeah.
But I think if a lot of riders would get a better grasp of how much power they actually need. We were at a race this weekend. We sat there and watched people. It was a little slippery turn.
Yeah.
Most people were getting in trouble because too much power.
Yeah.
Whether it lifted the front wheel and they had to shut off, or the bike stepped out and got sideways, they had to shut off, and all these things.
Yeah.
So while we're talking about power and power delivery, this is a question I have: is so there are ways to map the electric throttle or the controller.
Yeah.
Just like we do with ECUs and tuning that way with fueling and ignition timing, correct?
Correct. Yeah. And you have like really high kind of level fidelity control on all of those sorts of things. So you can vary the amount of basically torque and or speed that you're commanding, based on throttle position. You can also set modes where you're limited on current, which is basically limiting your torque output, which therefore limits the total power that you're giving. So you can go from maybe a trials like tune where you got really good pop, getting the front end up over obstacles, or you could mellow it out and let it roll on, like in this slippery corner situation. You don't want 100% of the torque, like kind of instantly on the crack of the throttle, because you're just wheel spinning.
No.
So
yeah, no.
So you can do, sort of like an enduro tune or a moto tune, or you can do a novice tune that's limiting power and top speed versus a pro tune that gives it the full beans right out of the gate. So you got a lot of options.
So when you're getting information from like your customers and stuff, the guys that you're talking to, I would think that the electric crowd would be a little more tech geeky and want to be able to play and tune with that. Is that something that could be done?
Yeah, I think it's, we're kind of in the digital sort of device era, right? Where you can do a lot on your phone and apps. And as these bikes have those capabilities, I think a lot of people like to be able to get in and play with throttle curves, or, you know, the power and the regen braking and those sorts of things as well. And yeah, you know, we haven't fully fleshed out the exact functionality, but it's definitely something that we'll offer to a certain degree. And there's other things that are interesting also, like kind of ride assist modes, whether it's traction control or even like launch modes where you can keep the front end down and those sorts of things, you know, prevent basically over rotation on, you know, depending on the type of rider and what they're looking for. So it's an aspect of the experience that's interesting for a lot of people. Like you hit on the playing on the phone.
Right. And so kind of back to Dust. So the thing that kind of spiked my interest is you guys are going to release some big information on December 3rd.
Yeah, so we have an upcoming basically production pre-order launch coming up on December 3rd, and we're going to share a bit more details around the production bike, and we're going to share some images of the production bike release. And one thing we've been, like I mentioned earlier, really transparent about is the development process and how things have been evolving and improving and morphing. And this will be sort of the first time that we show the world, like, okay, here's the specs and here's what it finally is going to look like. And we're going to get on after that, building the production prototypes.
Yeah. Awesome. And so where will those be built?
We're going to build the first few prototypes for the production design here in Oregon. And we've got manufacturing partners actually in Detroit, and we'll continue to build sort of the scale bikes, do final assembly in Detroit. You know, we'll be sourcing parts globally, Italy, domestically for some of the critical parts like battery and gearbox, as well as using some vendors kind of overseas in Asia as well. And we'll do final assembly here in the States and fulfillment from our partners headquarters there in Detroit.
Is the battery is developed over here or produced over here?
Correct. Yeah. So
and then go ahead.
I was just going to say, one of the things that we've noticed over, you know, this journey and getting into the industry, batteries are the most critical piece of an electric bike, right? And if anything goes wrong, it's really difficult to work with suppliers overseas to rectify those issues. So having the control of the production supply chain and quality control and being close to the customer is massively valuable. But the other part is also sort of tariff and basically the source, the region where they're sourced. We have ongoing conversations with DoD and kind of special operations applications. And so making sure that we can give sort of the complete breakdown of where these components are coming from, and they're all, you know, allied or domestic source, is massively valuable for being able to supply to the military.
Oh yeah, I've been involved in some of that, so I know this. So the next thing is, is your engine proprietary? I imagine the battery's kind of proprietary, right?
Yeah. So battery is proprietary, developed here to our specifications with a partner in California. Our gearbox is completely custom, and we're working directly with a motor vendor to customize motor for our application. So we're going to have a really compact, power dense, high torque system. The motor is actually going to be quite high speed as well. And so our reduction is going to be 3.4 to 1 on sort of the output countershaft side prior to getting to you know, the sprocket kind of final reduction. So it's going to be quite smooth, torque dense, and really packaged nicely within the frame because we've had that control.
Yeah. And then, so your bike is a little bit smaller than, and we talked about this the other day. So it's not like full size bike. It's like, and it's not small like the Surons and stuff like that. We call it medium size.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's a good way of putting it. I think some people are like, oh, why don't you make a full size bike? I think, you know, there is no single number that determines full size. I would say it's a full size bike with slightly compact geometry. And so seat height is about 905 millimeters. So just over 35 inches. It's about 2 inches shorter than a 250 or 450. I think when we chatted yesterday, I kind of mentioned it's like an old school 125. And in a lot of
Right.
ways, that was sort of our inspiration. We've seen a lot of people jumping back on 2-strokes and 125s, and even like Carson Brown ripping around on some of the vintage bikes. And like, people are doing that not because the pace.
Don't watch that kid. I'm really good friends with his dad. I know him well, and it's like, yeah, you want to get somebody, you need to have him line up to actually tell him he has to test ride it for us. We fired him as a test rider like two years into dirt bike test because he just break everything.
We'll eventually get Carson on the bike. Definitely will be a good reliability tester, but it's all about the fun, right?
Yeah.
And so what we decided on the sizing was, and the wheelbase is slightly shorter, so a couple inches shorter than a typical kind of 250 full size bike. And we said, it's more approachable for a lot more people, whether you're 5'7" like me, or you're a woman or something like that, slightly younger rider. There is kind of a big gap between super mini and 250s at this stage, right?
Right.
But at the same time, for a capable rider, you're slightly undersized. It's super fun and flickable. So like, you feel like you have total control of the bike, rut tracks, tighter tracks, single track. You really can throw this thing around, and that's like ultimately fun. And there's going to be some top level performance trade-offs there, like wheelbase. You're not going to be able to plow through the whoops at high speed in the same way you would on a 450. But at the same time, this thing's more about kind of being a cornering machine and getting you in and out of corners quick, and having fun, with the friends. So.
Right. Okay. So, and then suspension, what kind of suspension's on it?
Yeah. So one of the things that we saw kind of in this opportunity space to bridge between, full core moto industry and then, the Sur-On and other kind of Chinese bikes was, a lot of those lightweight bikes were using mountain bike suspension. But you watch how these people are actually riding those bikes. They're upgrading them and trying to upgrade the suspension, but just the nature of the part fitment, there weren't options to really get into the moto category. And so we wanted to specify moto grade sizing. So it's 43 millimeter stanchion on the front fork, 46 millimeter piston in the rear. It's basically an 85 or super mini fitment, which means that there are moto fitment options out there. Now we've been working with a couple brands, Formula and a new brand called Cirrus, developing out potential higher end suspension for full size riders and heavier riders than what's available on the kind of 85 and super mini side of things. But we're talking about the types of technologies that you'd expect on kind of A kit suspension. So symmetrical dual leg coil spring closed cartridges. We're talking about like hydraulic bump stops and those sorts of things that sometimes aren't even available on some of the moto applications. So really what we want to deliver, in addition to sort of the American quality, is a higher performance bike in this size class. So that's kind of our big differentiator, is the quality and performance for this size class is different than some of the other options out there for sure.
Yeah, Bud from Bullet Bruce Designs right now says we need one. he'll make protective parts for it. So you can smash it.
No, I one of the things we talk about is it's really amazing, the Sur-On and other kind of black bike aftermarket scene, and there's also a lot of aftermarket parts for traditional dirt bikes, right? We think that's an important part of the ownership experience. And so we've been choosing to leverage existing fitments. So whether it's, KTM peg fitments or wheels and brake fitments, like these are standard moto parts. That's so
smart.
So you can go to a shop.
I hate it when somebody changes something every year and it's like, oh, it only works from 17 till 19, and then the 21 and 22 are different. And then for some reason, there's a 4-year run with this next, whether it's a disc rotor or a sprocket or that is. I don't want to say that we should have a standard, but there's ones that are popular, and it's not too hard to copy that a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what we're trying to do. Is like, okay, what fitments can we choose that have the highest volume of bikes out in the field, so therefore the shops are more likely to have spare parts for. That's a piece of it. And then their part is the aftermarket, the protective gear. We want to work with these aftermarket suppliers to go to market with some of these options out of the gate, whether it's, protection skid plates or brake levers or, graphics and seat covers. We want to support that. We're not going to do all of that ourselves. Right.
Yeah. Like Beta does a really good job with that, with their build your own beta program. And they have, kind of like you can actually order the bike, you can almost custom design it in a certain extent, but it's an interesting market. I mean, it's so cool now. Like the options that we have as riders to be able to get, almost what you want. And now, okay, electric's coming, and whether you're looking at a Suron or a Stark or, a Dust, something like this, now you've got all these different things, and people are still complaining.
No, it's tools for the job, right? Like at the end of the day, people just want to be able to ride, and there's going to be days where you want your, big enduro or adventure bike for, kind of getting way away from it. And then other days you just want to lower the friction and getting on trail or getting, on your friend's backyard track. And that's where I think electric's super interesting, is the quiet nature means you can bring back the backyard track and dig in your buddy's backyard without having the neighbors yell at you, or you might be able to get into some of the single track that maybe got shut down because of complaints or whatever. And so that's,
if you can't hear us, then we're not a problem most of the time. Right.
That's right. Yeah. And so we see a lot of people from the, kind of core industry. This is kind of a quiver edition. It's not replacing their bike, but it gives them another option, another tool for different scenarios, and hopefully reduces the time involved so they can get out and ride more.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and go to some of our questions right now. And this is Victor. He's a long time smart ass, we'll say in the comments guy. He says he's Mexican, so he's afraid of anything has to plug in the wall because it could shock him. But he says, what is the range on those appliances?
Yeah. So
Victor.
It really depends, like a gas bike, if you're wide open and pinned, the tank's going to drain faster, and it's similar to electric bikes. So our target is sort of 1 to 2 hours of like solid riding, especially on single track and trail, or like kind of in the hills free riding or backyard track sessions. If you go to the track, and this is where it's tough, you go to the track and you're ripping laps fully pinned, you can drain a pack on our bike in 15 minutes. Right.
I watched that with the Alta. Like Alta, when we had one, it was, I think we got almost 4 hours trail riding, and they actually got kind of upset because we ran it down to below 15%. But they set a mileage, and their rep was with us when we rode. They set a mileage, and so I'm like, okay, I have that loop. I didn't tell them that it involved 3,000 feet of elevation gain. And sure enough, we were kind of coasting it back down a lot, but it made it. Yeah. But so, and for sure, but it was a solid ride. And I was like, okay, things are going the right direction with this stuff.
Yeah. And
then I know, you put them in high load and sand and stuff like that. And then we took it to the track, and you'd be hard pressed to get a 20-minute moto. Back then, it was mostly without kind of overheating it. It still had some power. It just kind of, I think it couldn't necessarily cool itself when you're riding it, that hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a challenge also for a lot of these bikes. We kind of chatted on the phone about, there is a difference in market segment around air-cooled bikes versus, liquid water-cooled bikes. And there is kind of a similar separation on the electric side of things. Like you kind of hit this functional threshold around 22 horsepower, kind of continuous. If you start to peak over that for sustained periods, you're going to want sort of a water cooled bike. And similar to range, like you can design a large battery pack that gives you more range and more riding time, but then that's at the cost of, price as well as weight. And one of the things that you can't, like a 4-wheel EV, you can hide the volume and the weight of a battery pack. You can't do that on motorcycles. So we kind of purposefully chose the path of a swappable battery that's actually a little smaller in capacity. It gives the option for owners to have 2 packs if they want to swap them. It also keeps the overall bike weight down and sort of the entry price a little lower. But we know that means it's sort of a specific tool for the job, and kind of back to the point about it's probably a quiver edition. It doesn't replace all your gas bikes because simply you can't give the range that a lot of people expect on their gas bikes. So, yeah, it's all about setting expectations, I think.
Yeah. So Off-Road Dad on YouTube asks, will there be different sizes in the future?
Yeah, great question. I think what's interesting about sort of the compact nature of this bike, we could pretty easily throw a linkage change and 1916s on it, and you're pretty much in the super mini kind of class. So I think that's an interesting option. And then the other side of it is we have been really kind of working around peg placement, seat heights, bar kind of adjustment, and trying to set that for the widest range of riders. I think over time we would like to offer other Dust models. So, whether it's smaller or kind of full size 250, 450 class bike. But what we're trying to do with this offering is hit the broadest swath of users possible, and also be slightly differentiated from what's kind of in a typical category on the gas side.
Yeah. And another question we have is Jay New says, when will customers be able to take possession approximately?
Yeah. No, good question. Our intent is to start ramping into production in the first half of the year. So we're kind of like mentioned before, the production prototypes, production intent designs, we want to prototype through February, March, do validation testing, April, May, June, starting to roll out our first few units and shipping to our earliest customers in summertime. And then real-time sales is looking at the latter half of the year, sort of winter timeframe.
So end of 25, you're saying?
That's right. Yeah.
Ish. Yeah. And somebody says, will these be super mini race bikes? I doubt it.
Yeah.
They could, right?
Yeah. And it's an interesting question. Like, we're not designing them to be, directly put into a current class. But there is an interesting opportunity, I would say, around either dedicated kind of electric classes. Like, we kind of hit on, like, the gap between super mini and 250 is pretty big in terms of performance and sizing. I could see a world where we sort of slot in as an additional class that could be quite fun. Also for vets and various AM categories. And I also think there's some use cases around like enduro cross and arena cross where these kind of bikes would be pretty interesting as well. But we're a brand that's more focused on cracking the fun challenge rather than being top of the heap in race. That being said, we're going to show up at the races next year. It's the only way you can really truly test the bike. And we got one of our prototypes over to TKO in Tennessee earlier this year, and it's going to be part of our pathway for sure.
Yeah, that type of event is a perfect venue, especially that one in particular that's a perfect place to do that. I mean, and then Eric Pinard's very involved in that, and he's always been big on the electric and has that electric class, which I think is super cool. So no, George, they're not going to use 18-volt Milwaukee batteries. But Anthony says, if the batteries are swappable, when do you plan to make spare batteries available for purchase? And this can be ordered as an option at launch. And then also kind of maybe not a real number, but like, kind of how much percentage is a battery? Like if you want another battery, is it 20%, 40% of the bike cost? Yeah.
So good question. The intent is to offer batteries so that you could kind of bundle them with the bike purchase if you want to get an additional battery at launch. So when we actually start shipping bikes and having that option for people to add them on. They also longer term, there's sort of some ideas that we could offer variants on the batteries. Like we could offer maybe a slightly lower power, but higher capacity battery. Or we could offer a lighter weight battery for people that really just want to turn 30 minutes of laps in their backyard and they don't want something so heavy. And then the cost of the battery, this is the challenge, right? It's even for electric vehicles, cars on the road, they end up being kind of the most dominant item on the bill of materials in terms of cost of goods. And so in our case, we're working to get our target price down to about, let me do the quick math, about 30% of the overall bike cost.
Right.
But in the earliest volumes, it's going to be north of that. It's going to kind of dominate the bike cost for us on our side. And this is the challenge, I think, to building these businesses, kind of going on a tangent towards like the business side. building the higher quality, safe, reliable product that a lot of moto people expect, right? Like people that come from outside of the industry don't realize how hard these bikes are ridden and how much has gone into developing reliable bikes. Like these, you know, the core brands that have been in it for decades, they build amazing machines because they've been in it for decades, right? And I think this rapid kind of transition into electric, there's a lot of people that kind of just think, oh, just throw these batteries and these components on the bike and it will work. And that's not the approach we want to take. So there's a cost to that. And doing batteries really in a kind of best practices way where safety and reliability are there is expensive. And so, yeah, that's one of the reasons why we said, like, if we're going to go this direction, let's lean into it and make it an American brand.
Yeah, that's something easy on that. we're having a Canadian American Mexican whiskey tasting here during the show. It's Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, so that's easy on those pours there, Jimmy.
I get heavy.
You gotta tell me. You gotta tell me who the winner is. I need to restock.
Well, it's definitely not going to be the Crown Royal. I can tell you that right now. But we had to have something from Canada. that was what we had available. We just poured the blackened. You brought me this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one, I'll drop you out of the screen here and get Jimmy up here. Actually, you go. You're in charge of this. That's what a co-host does.
Right.
So that's the you got to angle it over this way.
Tell
Yeah.
which way I'm supposed to be. It's all backwards.
There we go. Yeah, everything's backwards for us over here. We're like, oh, it's going to get even more backwards. But anyways, that's Metallica's brand, right? Yeah. Yeah. So American. Okay. Back to the motorcycles talk.
Yeah.
I'm 100% with you because I can't believe how many people complain about, you know, whether it's motocross guys or off-road guys complain about breaking something, and you don't understand the level of performance you get. Where can you buy a truck? I mean, people are like, oh, I got a Raptor, I got a T-Rex, and it's got all this power, and it's like that's not even close to what they race.
Yeah.
You can take a dirt bike and you can buy something that you can literally, I won't say supercross because that's the thing, but you can literally take a stock dirt bike and go out and sign up for a national. And if you're a good enough rider, you can get in and ride with the best 40 guys.
Drop them from the sky and they keep going.
Yeah, in the country at that point.
Amazing.
And so and you know, like I said, you're not trying to build that race bike. You're trying to build something that's fun. But the same thing, you know, I see the trail ride guys, you know, buy a bike that's emissions compliant, noise compliant, that still can take them trail riding to places, and then they complain that it overheats, and you know they're the ones slipping the clutch the whole time doing it. So
yeah, it is amazing.
It's a tough market.
It is. It is tough, and I think what happens is, you become quite specialized in these segments, right? And you know, it's like 125, 150, 250, 300, 350, 450, right? Like you have so many options, and they become so specialized in high performance and capability, that you end up like it's an arms race. Like everyone that sort of has bikes in these categories really have to keep leveling up. And to your point, like I think people ride 450s ultimately because they like the torque available. It makes it easier to ride for more situations. But then when you get the upper percentiles of riders, the 98th, 99th, 100th percentile riders that can actually push a bike, you know, the standard rider sees people riding like that and it's just mind blowing, right? Like, and it's the same exact bike. And it's like, oh, dad took the bike out and this is how he rides. And then all of a sudden you have sort of the local pro even, right? Not even the guy that's lining up at the national. And it's insane what they can do. And so we didn't want to try to go toe to toe with that level of specialization and capability. What you can bring to the market with some of the electric tech is really compelling when it comes to torque and power density and stuff. But at the same time, like we think, you know, we're coming to market a little over 40 horsepower. Like that's plenty of power for most riders,
Yeah.
you know? And we didn't want to,
for sure.
Yeah. We didn't want to break our backs and, you know, empty the bank account develop some really specialized high tech gear because it wasn't necessary for our target audience, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you think about the bulk of customers, and you learn how many like CRF-Fs Honda sells and TTRs Yamaha sells and all the other stuff. And by the way, I can't do this podcast without thanking my sponsors. You know, you're brought to you by Yamaha tonight. Mm-hmm. Actually, we're all brought to you by Yamaha. So back onto the power. So I don't like to talk about myself that much, especially on this show. But Jimmy and I, raced a 6-hour Grand Prix this weekend, and I chose to ride a YZ125, mostly to keep myself in check, because that way I don't overdo it.
You don't get carried away.
You don't
you
get
got
carried.
A little carried away. Man.
I always get carried. That's why I start there. I don't know how much power a YZ125 makes, but I was kind of using most of it. I could have done better. I could have used more of it. Mm-hmm. But we raced against all these other guys in our over 40 class, even though we're all over 50.
Yeah.
I was in first place when I got off that bike.
Oh, yeah, for
sure. Yeah. So, and it was a Grand Prix, high speed, too. All sand. It's where the 125s just absolutely excel with all their power.
Yeah, where everybody knows the ideal weapon is.
Yeah. So tell those guys to suck that when they when they're complaining about their 450s, not being fast enough.
Yeah.
And I really, I mean, like I said earlier, twist the throttle farther. Okay, I got to get a couple questions. Target price.
Yeah, target price is $10,950. We obviously don't want to come in like way too hot, but we also have to be able to deliver the quality product and performance that we think is needed for the segment. And then also, I think a big piece of it is where it lands in the context of some of the other kind of crossover athletes, coming into the sport fresh and not pricing them out or steering them away if they're coming off of mountain bikes and stuff like that. So
$14,000 mountain bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want at $14,000. I don't care how much power it is. I don't want my feet to spin. And I love my giant mountain bike. I have a giant Trance, and I love it because it gets me out there. It's like I'm the guy that's going the opposite direction sometimes. I've been doing the motorcycles, so I've always ridden mountain bikes. I had the first Diamondback Apex with BioPace sprockets, back in the day, and I kind of stopped riding the mountain bikes because there was a little too much suffering. And the e-bike was so cool because now I can go out and I can bonk and I can push a button and I get new legs.
Oh yeah.
And I can bonk multiple times on a ride and it doesn't wreck my ride. I can kind of keep going. And when you were talking about like these, different athletes crossing over from other things, like on the motorcycle stuff, it's amazing how some people have gone from pedal bikes to e-mountain bikes and then like, oh, what's it like? And those are the guys that were looking at the KTM free ride when we had one here. I remember I took it out to some of my friends that were mountain bike riders that had no interest in motorcycles, but they'd kind of gotten into the electric bikes, and they kind of only want to ride them with their friends that like did electric bikes. They never go to their purist guys with their electric mountain bikes. There's some weird thing, but then they saw this thing. And they'd ride it and they go, my God, this is so cool. Like, this is really, I mean, they were blown away. They had no idea that it was just as fun, if not more fun, than their spinny pedal bike. And then they go, how much does it cost? And I think that thing was like $12,000. And I go, $12,000. And they go, that's it? Every single one of them said $12,000. That's it. And I'm like, yeah, we all think on the motorcycle side that $12,000 is too much for this because the suspension components, like I said, the size was a little awkward. It wasn't a true motorcycle, and they want that much money for it. And then you have to put a special plug in your house, and
the 220 was
all the other stuff.
Yeah, killer on the 220, and no, it's actually one of the reasons why we started Dust. You kind of went back, like, how did we identify this gap or the opportunity space? And piece of it was obviously this sort of new entry point with these e-motos and e-bikes and helping bridge into core moto. The other side was also the new capabilities of electric to offer, quiet, more riding opportunities, easier to learn. But the real aha moment was actually like, my background is much more on the BMX mountain bike side, racing downhill and enduro, having fun on dirt bikes growing up and borrowing friends' bikes and going to the track. Total, kind of honesty, my mom didn't want us owning dirt bikes because of safety and having brothers that got into wrecks growing up and all this stuff on the street.
Right.
And so I went through my life really loving the moto culture. I grew up in Murrieta and seeing all the tracks, down the street and following as a fan, and knowing like that feeling, sensation of flying and freedom that you get on two wheels is quite similar on a bike, but you hit it, it's magnified when you're on a dirt bike, when you can twist the throttle and go even faster and further with, all the effort. And so when I jumped on some of the newer breeds of electric moto, it really clicked for me, whereas like, oh my gosh, I'm a much better rider. I'm not quite expert level like I am on the mountain bike, but it leveled my game up and I had way more fun instantaneously, right? And it's kind of similar on the mountain bike side. There's a lot of purists. They're like, if you're not suffering and earning it, then it's not, true riding.
Right.
And I know there's a lot of dirt bike people that are similar. They're like, you got to go through the process.
Same thing. You're going to get gas guys that are just going to riddle the poor guys on electric. But I mean, if these kids that get on Surons and maybe they stop for a little while when they, get a traffic ticket or get in trouble or whatever, but then all of a sudden they're working their construction job. They got an extra $3,000. And what do? They go lay it down on a real dirt bike because they're like, I did this. Or they might get to be 30 or 40 years old. Kids are finally old enough or whatever it is. It's like, I'm seeing this on the gas side where guys now are getting back into it at 30, 40 when the kids are kind of getting out there and or they just, you rode a dirt bike as a kid and then you always wanted to, and maybe you bought a street bike. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, well, this is what I wanted. And, so there's a lot of paths to entry, and the more, and even with the MIC and the whole initiative to just get people riding, and the more different ways we have to do it, the easier it is to enter. And you could have kids, and we laugh now. I mean, when KTM made their first 50, there were no stepping stones. You got a 50, and then you went and bought a Kawasaki 65, but KTM like, okay, now we have a 65, now we have an 85, and they built. There's people, and this is strange to me because I didn't even know what a KTM was until I was like 19 years old, because they made a 125, but they didn't make anything small. So KTM, it was like a Mako. Mm-hmm. I dreamed of riding a Mako, but I knew I was never going to be able to because it was big and tall. but we're going to very soon have kids that started on the O-set or the Stasic.
Yeah.
And moved up and kind of just worked their way up, and it's like they may never want to do gas, and then they're going to see us old guys on gas bikes, and they're like, look at you old crusty old dudes, you only ride gas. Well, like, why can't we look? Real. I mean, that's real. I bring that out.
Yeah. So it is interesting. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, there's the thing about
we got to go back to some questions. We're getting way backed up in the questions here. Does the bike have shiftable gears?
It does not. Yeah, single speed.
Okay, I'm gonna say we're talking about perception here. You got to remember this perception of the gas versus steel. Right. Let's see. A couple of people joined in late, and they have to go. If you're joining in late, we got all of the questions that you're asking now. We answered them earlier, so you're just gonna have to listen to it again. It's semi interesting. Unlike most of these shows, like this is really typically. We got a
pretty sharp guy here, don't we?
But we have to. This is way better.
Yeah, way better.
Way better. Yeah, America has way better whiskey than Canada.
And hopefully better dirt bikes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you Canadians can just dig it. Well, they're digging their holes right now to go back underground. But let's see. How we have a question. How are you attracting crossover athletes like mountain bike riders? Is there some plan for that, or?
Yeah. So we actually, we have a few ambassadors. One of the local boys here, Carson Storch, is one of our athletes, and he's kind of on this journey. He's got an awesome little backyard setup with the side-by-side track and the little moto track, and obviously his mountain bike kind of rampage stuff. We see a huge potential in the mountain bike scene because so many riders, Aaron Gwynn, Elliot Jackson, Dakota Norton, like some of the top names, they came from moto early days in their riding life, growing up on dirt bikes, and then they got into mountain bikes. And so they are relishing the opportunity to get on, something that's got some performance and fun and can serve for crossover training. So actually we're going to head back east towards North Carolina, do some actually special ops demos. And then we're going to tag up with some of the bike parks over in North Carolina and Tennessee. And I think there's a huge opportunity actually to do demo centers on the back of downhill bike parks, especially when you have quiet, you can make it a weekend destination, spend a day on e-moto and then a couple of days on the downhill bikes and kind of make it a full weekend. So.
Yeah, our buddy San Felipe Bob points out that his son's road bike is $15,000. Yep. That's a road bike. All that thing is just free pain, nonstop free pain on that sucker.
Dishes it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And Victor has another question. He says, I wonder if one of those stealth electric dirt bikes will make it from Santoya Pass to the first border checkpoint control through dirt with some extra weight. Meaning he's talking about his girl that he's trying to hijack across the border, and then do they come with a good
Victor
light?
Wants to coyote that thing.
Victor, you're supposed to run with the infrared. It's cheap these days. You can do it with night vision glasses.
Do coyote rig.
Speaking of accessories and lights, though, like that's definitely part of the intent is to build out the harness and the DC power supply so that we can have lights rigged up, because that's kind of like mountain biking also. Like you get shorter evenings, and sometimes you want to get on quiet trails, and throwing a light on a quiet bike is one of the ways to do it. So.
Yeah. Yep. And then Ron Weiler says we need to get Russell Bobbitt on one of those. Russell runs some tours and stuff like that. Has a pretty good operation, but
yep.
I like I said, I want to ride it whenever I can ride it. I want to ride it. I've like anything that's actually the smaller size. I'm not kidding you. That's probably the most appealing thing about it, because I do ride a lot of mini bikes, and I know how much better smaller bikes handle. And I'm 5'10", but just the agility and the handling, and then the strange nature of electric that it doesn't gain weight when you use a lot of power. And this is something that you get some additional rotational mass from the wheel spinning faster, but like the biggest thing when you ride, especially a 450, is how heavy they get when you start producing power. And it has a lot to do with the engine RPM and just like I said, everything's spinning and there's a lot of torque in there. But the strangest thing when I've ridden the electric bikes is they don't gain weight when they kind of stay. They kind of, I don't know. I always say they start out heavy and they don't get lighter.
Yeah.
But they don't get heavier.
Well, the Stark, the Stark is, a little over 260 pounds, but, compared to a 450 at pace, it feels light. But it's heavier than a wet 450 just sitting on the stand. Right. So, it's the rotational inertia and the engine, the crankcase, especially kind of the bigger bikes. You're running the high RPMs and big displacement and all of the crank and con rods and all that stuff. That's real mass flying up and down and going in circles. And so it, and actually it kind of, I had spent a bit of time away from bigger bikes, and then I jumped back on a 450 out here at China Hat, and I was just like, turn in, man. Like I was just like, getting off of the electric bike and really being able to place it exactly where you want that front end and get in and out really fast. And then I, jump on the 450, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like I have to rewire the brain a little bit for, what to expect in cornering. That's real. I mean, when having ridden factory motocross bikes and especially factory 450s, people, they must have so much power and all this stuff like that. And you'd be really surprised that they have a lot of power, but it's strung pretty high up in the power band. They're just really smooth. But the most amazing thing was that they didn't get heavy like your stock 450 did. It almost felt like, and I think that kind of even changed the perception of the power, because it didn't get heavy. It didn't feel as powerful, but man, were they quick and easy to control. So that's cool.
I noticed that on the Alta when we were riding the Alta, especially trail riding it. When you're like kind of bouncing through hoops, it was amazing. You could actually control the bike. It didn't want to keep, when bikes are kind of bouncing through hoops, they kind of want to keep going the direction they're going.
Yeah.
I remember the Alta, you could actually steer it. And of course, when you're on something like a Sur-Ron or something like that, you can flick it out from underneath you if you use real motorcycle level stuff. So yeah, I'm excited. I did get to see kind of the specs on the release, and I tell you what, people are not going to be disappointed. I don't think the price is really that far out there. I mean, it's a crazy time right now in the motorcycle industry.
It is.
But we talked the other day, I think the motorcycle industry, and I mean, people that are, dealerships are going to go out of business and people that are going to lose their job would disagree with me. But I think it's sort of a little bit of a recession proof industry because it's so addicting. It's like, we're going to do what we need to do to get our fix, our motorcycles, our stuff. So,
that was one of the reasons why we jumped into this. It's not an easy thing to build a manufacturing business and designing these kinds of products that, perform. But, motorcycles are over 100 years old. People keep coming back to them. They're one of the more dangerous things you can do. People keep coming back to them. And to your point about these Sur-Ron kids, or even the lapsed riders, once it's in your brain, the sensation of twisting a throttle and that feeling of flying, you can go 10, 20 years and you'll still think about it and you'll still want to get back on the bike. And that just means there's something inherently there. And we talk about flow state. There's very few things in life that get you to turn the brain off and just be in flow state faster than a dirt bike. And like you said, that those sorts of kind of foundations, those are recession proof. Those are just inherently good for most people.
That's what my problem is. That's why it's so easy to get flow state on the dirt bike. I mean, that actually, because I know exactly what you're talking about. I snowboard and ski and surf and try to ride a skateboard and do all these things. And I've had very brief moments of that in those other things. Mm-hmm. But on the dirt bike, like on my second stint out at the track there, I came back in, you saw it. I lit up. I was like, that was good.
Oh, yeah.
But that's what we're talking about. So a couple of other quick questions. Street legal model.
Yeah. So not straight out of the gate. It's a bit of a, 50 different states in the US makes the job a little bit harder to do homologation and licensing and all that stuff. That being said, we're building kind of the system architecture to, like I said, to be able to plug and play lights. And then we will eventually go through.
Oh, and when you need to get into that, I know the guys. I know the guy you want to talk to about this. You probably know some of them, but I know the guy.
Perfect.
The other one, Victor again from Mexico here. Mexico via someplace down in Los Angeles. Are those bikes equipped with a power port, like to charge your phone or a fleshlight?
Low voltage power for charging. Definitely something that we're looking at including. A lot of people are bringing the phones for Onyx or Guide GPS and those sorts of things. And there's value there for sure. And it's easy, being able to provide kind of the offboard power with a big old battery pack. So definitely.
And that kind of draw that would be coming off of the, to charge your phone is so minimal, correct? In the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. It's like a phone charge. It's like
I can't visualize what
Yeah,
I can't visualize what a kilowatt is, or when you start talking about battery capacity, it's kind of easy. I know what a gallon of gas looks like,
a CC is,
and I kind of know how far it goes. Yeah, I could see a CC, but when you start talking about kilowatt,
I'm
these
right
are
there with you.
How do you you see the battery size, and I've seen that battery size doesn't necessarily relate to how much power is in it.
It'd be like running our bike. The capacity would be like running 5 microwaves full bore for an hour straight, that much kind of energy consumed.
Jeez.
Dang.
That's roughly
you can
what
hear
the battery would do.
Yeah. I can grasp.
Yeah, you can hear your generator in the motorhome bogging down with just one.
That's exactly how I do
Exactly.
Yeah. And so you think, okay, there's that 200cc antiquated air cooled motor. It's putting out this, and it bogs it down 5 of those. So,
I mean, gasoline is amazing medium for energy storage. It's a lithium ion battery at this point is roughly 1/50th the energy density of the same volume of gasoline, and so if you take a gallon of gasoline, roughly this size, and then you account for the efficiency improvement of electric, it's about, 2.5x more efficient. So let's say 25 times the energy density. In order to have the same energy stored as a gallon of gas, you need a volume that's 25 times larger in a battery, right? And so we talked about the inherent challenges with physics alone, gasoline is an amazing medium for storing energy. And you just have to be kind of smart about how you use it. 30 plus kilowatts, roughly, 40 horsepower. That's, a wall outlet doing 110, 120 volt at 40 amps, like that's
welding stuff, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. That's 400 amps. That's welding. That's welding.
Oh,
power.
Lord.
Yeah. So anyway,
couple other questions. So your charging type, are you going to be like 110, 220, both?
Yeah. So the idea is to be able to run a higher power charger, roughly 1500 watt, if you've got the 20 amp circuit for 110. And that will do one of our batteries 0 to 100% in under 4 hours. And if we have the option for a higher power, kind of 220 with the circuit, it's almost like a home EV charger. We can start to talk about getting charge times below an hour at that point.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's, I mean, when I've watched these different bikes come in, especially the kids one, and it was like if the battery charge, outlasts the attention span, which for most kids it does. There's some kids you're never, they could run a little Z50 out of gas, but then if you're able to kind of like, hey, come in, it's time to come in and eat and plug it in and be able to get them that next little boost, something that's kind of easy, but most adults we can plan, and that's where for sure having the, I always thought that these things need to have interchangeable battery packs because I like to ride.
I think so.
And if I could take it to the track and just have one sitting on the charger and go ride, I'm pretty sure that I could, and if it took 3 batteries, that's just what it took. If that's what I wanted to do, I mean, like I said, I want to do this enough, I'll make this work. Wear items. Okay. So chain, sprocket, brake pads, all the normal stuff, service, suspension.
Yep.
How, so I'm getting 500 hours out of my KTM 500 motors. Like, what are we talking? What wears an electric motor? How long will it last?
Yeah. I mean, so these are non-contact, permanent magnet synchronous motors. So it's not like you're replacing brushes or anything like that. We're developing the gearbox to do, basically 10,000 miles. So it's
right. Yeah. I mean,
it's not
when do
really
when do we replace gearboxes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Gearboxes are not wear items on dirt bikes. Clutches, maybe.
Yeah.
They become wear items when you do something wrong. Yeah. When something goes wrong. But like in under normal circumstances, like gears don't wear.
That's right.
Bearings in the motor.
Yeah. So these bearings are sized so that they're not, the rest of the bike, the chassis and sort of the typical stuff that you start to see after 800 hours, like basically the bike is ready to be sort of retired of hard riding, that type,
right.
And so the motor battery kind of powertrain is not really considered a maintenance wear item kind of element. And so it's standard stuff around, we have 520 chain, standard sprockets, sliders, brake pads, tires, all that stuff. The idea in the battery pack is a minimum of 600 charge cycles of hard riding, which means the average rider is going to get close to 1,000 charge cycles till you still have 80% of capacity. So if you take an average ride is 15, 20 miles and 1,000 charge cycles, we're talking about 15,000 miles on the battery, and you still have 80% capacity left, right? So
and that's way more than most people are going to ride their vehicle anyways.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I look at how many times I charge my phone, and that's the same sort of thing. The battery in a phone is kind of sort of a wear item, but it's designed to outlast you're going to smash the thing before you get to the bottom of this. And it's no different than, generally by the time your motor is starting to go, and maybe you rebuild your motor once or twice on a gas bike, at that point the chassis kind of faded, and there's something shiny and new that hopefully you've been planning for. At that point, and the technology's evolved. Your brakes aren't as good, your suspension isn't good, doesn't look as good, all those things.
You're doing full rebuilds on linkages and pins and bearings and all that stuff. Yeah.
So can an average Joe be able to rebuild and repair an electric bike and have access to parts?
Yeah, it's a great question. Absolutely. Like, I think a lot of people aren't, necessarily comfortable with the concept of a high power, battery and those sorts of things, but they're designed to be able to be worked on. Now, we're not designing the battery to be cracked open if there's an issue by the consumer. It is designed in a way that if, you're out of warranty and you're an enterprising mechanic, like, you could do it. Like, it's designed to be repaired. But like all of the other stuff, like, let's say, you wanted you had an issue with the motor and you wanted to get a new one in the mail or whatever, out of warranty, like, you definitely can pull this out. It's going to be faster and easier than a typical kind of motor pull. And you'll be able to throw a new one in and connect the connectors and you're on your way. So it's a lot of that stuff is simpler, even though sometimes the electronic aspect scares people with software and all that stuff. So.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe, and I sit here and kind of laugh because I remember the same questions coming up when all of a sudden we went to single shocks or we went to disc brakes or anything that's new. The motorcycle industry is the most resistant group of people I've ever seen to any sort of new technology. Wow. And so I think we're going to look back and I honestly think we're going to look back and laugh at all the questions that we ask about, like, stuff like this, is the motor rebuildable and stuff. But these are the questions that people have. This is new. They're a little bit, intimidated by it. And so, and I don't make,
well, the mechanic side, if you ask me, is going to be the greatest thing for keeping kind of things going and getting new kids into dirt bikes. Every kind of generation gets a little less mechanical than the one before, I think.
Yep.
Because we don't have to be. I mean, our dads were great at figuring out how to clean a radiator, and that's a problem that's gone, and things like this.
Yeah.
When you start eliminating, the average guy should be able to do oil changes and air filters and top ends. And I'm here to tell you, I'm lucky. My son kind of loves working on dirt bikes, but most of his buddies don't.
No.
And they just ride them till it's about done. And that's kind of that. They don't go riding all the time because something needs done.
Yeah, you have to work on it.
If they could pop on their phone for 4 hours and play with the map, I guarantee they'd be all about it. But when it comes to oil change, that's I mean, the service has got to be much less on these wheels, tires, blah blah blah.
They don't
that's
smell
not going anywhere.
Yeah, they don't smell like gas.
But from broken radiators,
right?
Broken shift levers. It's a lot less.
And
I would think.
The dust is
a lot less mechanical.
Your bike is also air cooled, correct?
It is air cooled, yeah. So you don't have the coolant system and complexity there. And Jimmy hit on something that's interesting. Also, respect to parents, right? Like, how many families kind of move away once you start to have 4 bikes in the garage, and like you go out for a ride and you realize, oh my god, like 2 or 3 of them have issues, and we're not riding today.
Yeah.
He knows about this.
All about it. I mean, just go get a KTM 50. Especially the older ones, but yeah, that'll make you just turn into a mechanic yourself who watches your kid rides a couple hours while you build clutches and everything else. It's not the best years. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the hot topic question. San Felipe Bob, battery fires. Are you going to need a fire blanket or a spark arrestor?
Yeah. No it's a really good question, and I think this is one of the differentiators for companies like us versus some of the other lower cost entries. Is like, we understand the risk associated, and there are design best practices for these higher power batteries, and we will do testing on thermal runaway and propagation prevention. If you have an issue with a single cell, does it propagate to the rest of the pack and create kind of a runaway condition? We'll be doing all that testing. Like, safety is ultimately the most important thing. There's also a lot of things around kind of abuse on battery packs with BMS and those sorts of things. The temperatures that you're charging or how hot they're getting, and then trying to charge. A lot of that can be handled with sort of safety factors within the software and kind of protections in the BMS, the battery management system. And not everyone does all of these things to the highest level. So that's really important for us. I will say that the risk is there. And so, we've been on calls with sort of FIM governing body and talking about what they want to have tracks to have on site for, any electric race series, and blankets and those sorts of things. There is dedicated fire suppression for lithium ion battery fires. Kind of the typical approach doesn't always work. But yeah, so it's, what I will say is the likelihood of having, an issue, a fire or some other thermal event with a battery coming from a company like ours is going to be a lot lower. And ultimately there are battery chemistries coming out that we are evaluating that are inherently more stable than some of the higher performance battery cells out now. So, and I think they're getting to a point where they can start to go 1-to-1 on the power discharge as well as capacity. So there could be some announcements that we make in the course of the next year in terms of the actual cells that we're using as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I remember we talked a little bit about some of the hype and the claims that were made on the electric front in different times and different companies, and I knew people that were working on this and very interested in it. And a lot of times it's like, yeah, that's possible, but it's not here now. And yeah. I'm hearing a little bit of this from you as well, but it's just like, you think about, they had the original two-strokes didn't have mufflers on them, nor did they have expansion chambers. And then someone figured out that they can put an expansion chamber on it, made a lot more power, made a broader power band. And then different, just these little things that you don't think about at the time that are so pivotal in the evolution of the vehicle.
Yeah.
And yes.
It's been interesting also seeing over the last, 12, 14 years when electric bikes, the first Zeros and Bramos and those kind of early bikes came, part of the timing for us also is to be able to benefit from some of the improvement in the base technology, where base technology back then was more industrial kind of motor technology, right? And now you can find a lot of suppliers that are making high performance controllers and motors and even proven battery systems for this type of application. It's not invention anymore. And like you said, it'll keep getting better.
Yeah. So Victor has just hit us up. He's looking for a sponsorship. He says, I will do LAB to V on Friday if you bring me one to Palmdale and exchange the battery every time it runs out of charge.
We're going to get a deal like that.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty, Victor. I think until you said about the fleshlight thing and the power port, I think he was thinking about it.
We're into some of these exhibitions. I think, if I were to say what's probably the worst use case currently for electric dirt bikes, it's probably desert riding, just
adventure, desert, dual sport, long distance,
sustained high.
And here's
that's
probably how people think I hate things, because I'm a big gas tank guy. Like, me, like you got to have a big gas tank, and we're gonna go along because we don't have gas stations out here. We ride from here back over to California or here up to northern Nevada, and it's 160 miles minimum between some of the gas stations. It's not doable yet. I mean, I don't expect it to be. I want one of these. Actually, we're working on.
But you don't have the mindset of so many people, and these guys don't either, of the bike that does everything.
You're not trying to get. You're maybe afraid to get away from outside of the car, But I see them as the ultimate, sort of urban backyard tracks, or just opening up access, something where you could come home after work and you just pull it out and go rip around. You're not going to bother anybody, and maybe it will change the perception. I mean, there's always people who just hate no matter what you do. If you're having fun, it's not for them.
But I guarantee it'll calm a lot of them folks down.
Yeah. One of the kind of deep cut influences for us was on Any Sunday, and seeing kind of the Steve McQueen and Street Gear race in Elsinore, and then recently saw Scott Cooney from Paris Raceway post up sort of a throwback photo of remember the time when the kids are just riding dirt bikes in the hills above the housing tracks, right? And I remember watching the movie and thinking about the opportunity to live that lifestyle in Murrieta and Orange County and all that stuff, and at the end of the day this could help do that. It could help get people back riding closer to home, instead of kids indoors on iPads and game systems. Maybe they have the quiet dirt bike that they're burning the daylight hours on because no one's yelling at them, and I think that's what's interesting to me. So it's like, yeah, Jimmy, you're going to go on those big adventures and kill the extended gas tank, but maybe you could have the turn track right outside the office, or right outside the house. And
he does, by the way.
We have a flat track and an enduro cross track right here in the property. Luckily, 99.9% of
turn tracks.
Yeah, 99% of my neighbors really like it, and they actually sit in their fence. They watch us when we're out there goofing around.
Totally.
But if it was electric, I mean, it would be just one less thing to worry about for the for the people. And the one thing when I'm always talking about, like, get your kids on dirt bikes, get them involved in this kind of sport. Because if you take a kid and you take them out into the woods or out in the desert, out in a place and out in a field, a track or whatever, and you go, okay, break the law.
Yeah.
You right now go break the law, because if they're in the neighborhood on their dirt bike, they can break the law real easy. Around that they can do stuff. But what other sport or thing can you go break the law, or like really feel like you're breaking the law, but you can't. You're not going to get in trouble by out goofing around on the hills. You can jump as high as you want, as far. The only thing that's going to stop you is you getting hurt most of the time, right?
Yeah.
And then when you get hurt, then you don't get to do what you really want to do. And so you quit doing that. You learn about this, or you break your vehicle, you break your bike, and then you have to learn how to fix it. Those are good things to do. Learn about pain, learn about mechanics.
Yeah, grit. You
manage yourself,
grit, man.
Grit, yeah. So,
yeah.
But anyways, hey, Colin, thanks a lot for coming on and talking with us. After you do your introduction and stuff, just tell me when I can ride the bike.
Yeah.
And then I can give a little feedback on it. That's what I'm good at.
We'll have bikes. We'll have bikes in the next sort of 5 months that are going to be production representative, and we'd love to get you on it, man.
Right. I won't take it on a long ride. We'll go out to my little sand track out here and see how we can burn the battery out.
Yep.
I mean, it's in all honesty, that's part of like what we do when we test things. We use them like a regular person. And if I've, like we had the KTM free ride out here, and I realized I learned really quick how far I could go because I was having so much fun just goofing around riding. We just have a lot of flat stuff around here with these bushes. You can just like zigzag through the mesquite trees and stuff. Mm-hmm. There's amazing how many little trails are out through it. You just go out and zzz, 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 and I learned how far I could go, and I got to turn. I saw the battery. Okay, it's like 65%. I got to turn around now, and then I can rip it all the way back, and I'm good. And it was fun time.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for coming on. I'm excited. We'll keep an eye out. And thanks to your guy in New Zealand who put this all together for us.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Totally.
Great
No,
guys.
it's been a pleasure. And our website's dustmoto.com, and excited to have your audience hopefully learn about it and check it out next week.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, it's this show's kind of all about just teaching people and learning different things. It's sort of my penance to give back because I don't make a lot of money on it. Do we make any money on this?
Drink it.
Your kid, we drink our profits away. You need to get your kid back in here to produce it, and then find somebody who could bump us on social and all the other stuff. That the problem is I just go riding all the time, and then it just wrecks everything. So, and then Anthony will probably be also. Anthony's working on. He's my electric bike guy. Mm-hmm. Actually. So could you take your bike to the track in your Cybertruck and then charge your bike off your Cybertruck?
100%. Yeah. Ford Lightning, Rivian, Cybertruck, you could totally charge it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I'm going to go, if I can figure out how I can get 270 miles out of a truck, 'cause that's how far I drive, between my spots. If I can figure out how to do that, might just be all E-guy.
Oh man.
So right on. Okay. Thank you, Colin. I appreciate you coming on the show and giving us all the info.
Rooting for you guys, and I like your plan.
Yeah. And hey, Made in America, there was so many people in the chat gave a thumbs up to All American. I mean, I remember ATKs back in the day, rode and raced those a little bit here and there. So that's pretty cool.
That's the other deep cut, man. Was Horst Leitner's 1999 KTM 125 concept, the super lightweight that Horst built prior to ATK. So let's bring a dirt bike brand back to the US and make it happen.
I'm all in, man.
I don't want to say that's the main thing you got going for you, but like in the States, I've always wanted to have an American brand. I was like, why doesn't Harley make a dirt bike? Why can't one of these companies, Cannondale? I was so pumped for Cannondale to try to do it. And then it was like, okay, you guys are trying to reinvent the wheel. And they kind of did. And you look at some of the stuff now and you go, well, Cannondale thought of that first. And was like, what's a Cannondale?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, y'all. We'll talk soon.
Okay, good. Take care. We'll talk to you
Colin,
soon. Thanks a
great
lot.
Okay. Bye.
So there we go, Jimmy. Easy.
God, that was a good guess, man.
Yeah.
That guy's a sharp fella.
Super awesome. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not an anti. I just ask the questions. Like, I'm actually probably the most like pro new technology guy. I mean, even back in when when aluminum frames came out, I liked them. It's just like, this is different. This is new. I understand the direction they're going. 4-stroke, same thing. I was like, I was a 4-stroke guy. I raced an XR 250 and different things, and right. I don't know where I get that rep, but because I will ask the kind of the questions and to see, and I'm skeptical, but it's funny because Dust hasn't really made a big like statement. They haven't said, "Oh, we're making 80
we're going to make more
horsepower."
horsepower than a YZ450 or whatever. I love that plan. I like it. Like, we're going to be our own thing. Y'all go do your thing.
We're going to build a fun bike.
Yeah,
and we're gonna sell a lot of these things. Hopefully, I mean,
like a 7/8 scale bike, which I look at, or whatever you want to call that. I like that. I think there's a market for that.
For sure. Yeah,
tons of people want a little kind of smaller bike. I think it's a good idea on a bike that doesn't need to go 200 miles in a day.
Yeah. Anthony, our e-bike guy, is telling me his F-150 does 270 miles. He's trying to convert me, but it ain't going to work that easy.
Is that a Lightning he's talking about?
He got his Lightning. The one he drives out here, we plug it in.
Oh, that's Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony Z.
Yeah.
Yeah, he helps coach at the schools.
I didn't know his last name.
We dragged the little 110 cord out of my garage and plug in his truck right over here.
I liked when Larry had his little Honda 2K generator.
Charging it. Yeah, different
Just
things.
to make fun of Anthony.
So, Victor. I think. You're gonna have to wait till you can find one on the used market. I see the stuff that you ride.
But I'm like I said, if you could come up with, there's a good world, I think, for no change in air filters and oil changes
and don't says, hey Jimmy, turn any loud generators off lately. I wonder what that's about. Oh, that's to you.
That's for me.
Oh, that's
I don't know who that is, but
hey, the Mexican
up it. Oh, that's at a trail ride I did. And somebody just didn't like my loud generator, which is
your loud generator.
It's a Yamaha 2K. It ain't that loud, but
he
turned it off in the middle of the night for me. I thanked him for it. And he wanted to get all. I think he wanted to fight about it. And I'm like, oh, thanks, man. Save me gas.
Mexican tequila wins.
Got time to fight when they're
Oh, the Mexican tequila is so much better.
God, it's like my favorite stuff.
That's really good. Yeah. So let's show everybody what it is.
And this is the one you can't. You got to go to Mexico.
Yeah, you got to go. You got to look it up at that screen there. Yeah, you got to. No, I think you can get it here. But the funny thing is, I think the Mexican stuff is smoother because it has less alcohol. It's not 40%. I think it's a little bit. You can look at the label and see. I'm actually having some of that delivered back here, I think, as we speak. And Ron Wilder needs a 9/8 bike size.
He must be the guy who somebody said, "Are you going to make one for 6'4"?
Yeah, the bigger guys. And that's another strange thing. I'm surprised no manufacturer has really gone to the level to make a small, medium, large, like they do the mountain bike. And
mountain bike guys got no problem with it.
Yeah, and I know the like Kawasaki has the different foot peg positions, and there's the bar clamps that rotate. They're really trying to help, but man, the cost involved and that's what I've asked.
What percentage of the world is 6'4"?
And I've asked my mountain bike buddies, like, does the handling of the bike change like it does on the motorcycle if you change the frame?
Yeah, that would be a massive difference.
I guess maybe not. I don't know. They can never answer that question. So let's see, Victor. Dude, the fact that I ride manly bikes doesn't mean I can't afford a modern one. Okay. Whatever. When I see you pull up with a freshie, Victor, I when you pull up with a freshie, I have to agree with them. You don't have a Husaberg 650 though, bro. Let's see, Jim Crowell. What does he say?
What do you think of KTM Explorer forks on the 17 to 19. How do you recommend setting them? I think he means how. How do you recommend setting them up for single track woods riding?
So Jimmy, I like those forks. Actually, I like the Explorer forks kind of across the board. A lot of people just bitch and whine and complain about them, and most of those people have never turned a clicker. They've never checked their oil height level. They've never serviced their forks, okay? So if we take all those people out, which is about 70% of the people, almost every complaint I've ever heard comes from that group there. The guys that have taken the time, and this doesn't include suspension tuners because the suspension tuner's job is to tune suspension and sell you things. And there's a lot of things that you can buy and put in there. Not to say that they're not that good, but what you're paying for them, I'd rather you pay for a little bit of oil and work on setting up your ride height and things like this. So I like them. The 17, in fact, on is 19 when they changed.
Is that,
when did they go from
Is
the
that like
single-sided damping to the double-sided? The only thing that changed there when they went from single-sided to double-sided, in my honest opinion, and I tested these bikes quite a bit, and I've ridden them, I have them, I own them, is that the range of adjustability went down with the new fork. The setting wasn't all that bad for its intended use, but your range of adjustability went down, and the fine tunability went down to a certain extent too. But I actually have a newer bike with the older forks on it, so the large diameter axle forks.
Okay.
So I actually have the old Explorers on one of my brand new bikes, and I keep forgetting like which one it is because it works just the same. It's a really good thing. So how do I recommend setting them up for single track woods riding? Okay, first of all, get them serviced. Just get them serviced. Make sure it's all clean inside there.
Yep, they're old. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
the second thing you want to do is make sure the oil level is right for what you're doing. Typically so out here in the desert, we tend to run a pretty high oil height level because it increases the air spring effect inside of the fork, which is the bottoming resistance. And then so for woods riding, it's really critical you find that right oil height because it affects the sensitivity kind of at the low speed, choppy kind of stuff that you're hitting all the time. And just by putting a little bit too much oil in there, you can overpower that. So
on the sharp stuff.
Yeah. So start with maybe the minimum oil level and then just have a syringe and just go in 3 to 5 cc's, just pump it in through the air bleed hole until you start getting happy. And if it feels, and sometimes when they're a little too soft, they feel a little harsh. So it's weird that you're actually kind of stiffening them up, making them better. And the rebound overpowers the compression damping on those forks. So a lot of times, if you're playing around with the low speed compression, you're not getting results. Try playing around with the rebound. So I just went in the weeds in that, didn't I?
Yeah, but that's what he's looking for.
Yeah.
He's looking for somewhere to get started.
It's there's everywhere to. That's everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Hey, Jimmy, play around with that, and if you get into a pickle, and so if you're just, I don't understand the suspension stuff. It's too complicated. It's too crazy. If you're wondering how this works, take your bike, crank the compression all the way in, ride it around like a little half-mile loop. Unscrew the compression all the way, ride it around the same loop, and then you can feel it. Then put it back in the middle. Take the rebound. Do the same things. So you can play around with these things. It's so simple just to play with the clickers. And always, whenever you're doing a suspension, make sure that your ride height on your rear shock, so your sag, is properly set. Because we experienced this weekend. I hopped on one of our teammates' bikes. We didn't talk about how our race this weekend.
Yeah.
I don't like to talk
Fun
about
stuff.
I really like to brag or anything, but we got second place, dude.
I know.
Yeah.
Not bad. All over 50.
It's not bad.
Over 40. No.
I'm literally was going to slip my wrist on the way home.
Yeah, I know.
I was having some issues there, but at least the anger didn't come out publicly. But so I hopped on one of our teammates' bikes just because I was like, I've been riding 125. I'm like, let's see if I can get on a bigger bike and go faster. So this is Ricky. It's your brother.
Yeah, brother Ricky.
Sweet KTM 300.
Beta 300.
Oh, Beta. Sorry.
New Beta.
Yeah, new Beta. They're just 2-stroke 300. New Beta 300. He had it all rickied out. He had a suspension setting. He was pretty stoked on it. I think.
Actually, after what you said, he did check it and goes, "What the hell was I thinking?"
I hopped on it and I was in a fight. I got in a fight with that bike. Suspension wise, the fork was too stiff initially, and then it blew through the stroke, and the rear was okay, except when it would get way into the bottom and it'd rebound out pretty quick. And this is years of experience. I just because I was really rooting for the team. I didn't want to lose any time, so there's no way I was going to pull in. I just kept pounding out laps. But when I got back in, he's like, well, "What do you think?" And I kind of said, and his suspension tuner is right there. I kind of said, "This thing sucks."
Uh-huh.
In kinder words, maybe.
Yeah, for you, I was amazed. I mean, we knew you weren't going to like it. But.
Oh, you did. Why'd you put me on it? Why didn't somebody tell me that?
No.
Roy wanted me to ride his bike. Roy,
I have a feeling you would like Roy. Roy is a setup. He knows he's a grinder, bro. He will work setup.
I got scared.
My suspension sucks because I am too lazy to click it. Yeah. I even got the little hand clicker. I don't touch him. I just ride.
I got scared.
Roy is very, very into setup. He works it. He's like you. He doesn't always looking for something better.
Right. So I hopped off the bike, complained, thought about it for a second, and said he thought his fork was too soft. And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? It's not moving." So it's stiff initially, but then I could see where it was getting soft. Because once it gets moving, it got moving. And I'm like, "Well, your ride height, I heard you talking about it's kind of low." And sure, I got on, it was like 118.
Yeah.
I'm a little fat on the back there. And so I was like, okay, that's not right. That's why the fork's not working. So bring the back end up and get the bike into a balance zone so the fork can start working. And I didn't ride it after that. I just, continued to complain. They changed it. He went out and rode it and said it was way better.
Yeah, a lot better. Yeah.
So that was good. So so Jimmy, let us know how your fork tuning goes. I always like to get some feedback so I can answer these questions better. Victor says e-start is for poozies. Well, Victor, guess what? Electric bikes don't have e-start, so you can ride one. It's safe.
That's true. Does he ride like a XR?
Victor has like a CR500, an XR650, XR600. I think he shot me photos of an IT175. Oh crap!
He does that.
I didn't put it in Roost or Endo.
Victor's bike.
Victor sent me a bike. We just disqualify him anyways. I'll see if I can get there. If you can talk for like 4 minutes. What the heck is that? Oh, we canceled our meeting. That's good. No. Everyone left my meeting. That's good. We need to cancel that. If you can talk for like 4 minutes straight, I could probably get Victor's thing and put it in Roost or Endo.
I'll give it a shot, but not nobody to talk to. But
John Buckle says yes. What did he say? You say.
Where's John Buckle on this thing? Yes. MTB ride characteristics can vary greatly between sizes. Most bike models can have a huge range of wheelbase lengths, but share the same swing arm and chainstay length.
So if bikes have a huge range in wheelbase, that's a huge difference in handling.
On a dirt bike for sure.
Yeah. So what your brother was also doing was when he showed up, his forks were way slid up and his sag was really low. So he had effectively made his wheelbase longer.
Yeah, he had a chopper going.
Yeah. Well, by sliding those up, the overall rate of where, when everything gets lowered, the swing arm compresses down a little bit more and the forks get slid up, it spreads out the distance between the axles. And then the bike actually feels longer because the weight's down lower. I mean, it's a good setup if that's what you're looking for, kind of a thing. But sure. I was thinking on the same thing on the mountain bikes. These big, tall mountain bikes. I don't know if when they make the frames bigger and the wheelbase extends, since you're such a huge part of the weight, overall weight, since you're sitting up on top of it, maybe it doesn't affect the quote, the handling so much as like a motorcycle does, where you got this heavy thing that's spinning and making power kind of in between the wheels in a very critical place.
Right.
Yeah. And then even just the way that thing flexes changes the way that and you watch mountain bikes, guys crank on them and the whole chainstay on the bottom starts flexing all over the place. So, okay. Ron Wielder says,
Picked up an 18 1090 and looking at a new Rottweiler Solera intake. Have you seen it, and what are your thoughts?
Okay, so Ron, that thing, that Solera intake, I have one sitting in my shop. I've seen it for about 6 years now. I remember when Chris invented it because it's such a pain in the ass to take the tank off to change the air filter. And he invented that thing, and the molding and stuff was ridiculously expensive, and he finally got it done. And I haven't got my air filter dirty yet, because when I get my air filter dirty, I'm going to install it. And I'll do that on Today in the Shop, that other show that I do. Mm-hmm. We got to talk about that too. We will do that, and I'll do it live, and you'll watch me cuss and throw tools, and you can tell me how I don't know how to use tools and I don't know what I'm doing. And
adventure
all the
bikes get to feeling like working on cars, huh?
Yeah, they have all the little plastic clips, and
there's just stuff in the way.
It's getting worse and worse and worse.
Right.
Like there's more car, the panels go on and slide on in 2 different moves.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. San Felipe Bob says,
wait, what is that? Oh, I always tell ESP, give me the Jimmy settings. Is that a suspension guy?
So yeah, ESP is exceptional suspension products. That's George, and he's in Glendale, California. He was tuning a lot of my race bikes when I was factory KTM and Kawasaki back in the day. And yeah, so the Jimmy settings are, I don't know. George knows what they are. I don't really want to break into the suspension tuner market, but. Yeah, he fiddles with my stuff. I mean, basically, he fiddles with my stuff because I bring it back to him, and I have the clicker set in a certain place, and he will tune it to bring them back into the middle if they're if they're kind of out of range, or he'll look at the oil and I was like, "Why the fuck didn't you bring this back to me?" 2 months ago, and then realize the reason the clickers are clicked in is because I wore my oil out.
Roached, huh?
Yeah, we need some more of that Mexican stuff.
God, that stuff's great.
Yeah, let's have some more. We could kill the American stuff though too.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do, it's your show here.
Right.
Got to go back to the wide camera here. Off-Road Dad says, I have a 22 Honda Sierra 450R lit. Oh, L. Lit.
I'm going to save that for the post show.
Okay. L. It has a get ECU with a map switch and traction control dial. Shout out to Taco Mike. Taco Mike is bringing you Roost or Endo, which we're going to do a little bit later on in the show, by the way. And if I have time, I'm going to include... Oh, really? No.
No.
I don't want to go to Canada. I want to go to America.
Oh, shit. I did mess that up, didn't I? Oh, well. I'll deal with that.
Okay. You deal with Canada. I'll deal with America over here.
Yeah.
How can I get the most out of my traction control dial? Not sure when to use it. Okay. So Off-Road Dad, this is what you do when you have a product or a thing is you test it. So find, let's call it a controlled situation or controlled place where you have different sort of tractions. Maybe you have a little bit of pavement, a little bit of a loamy dirt, and a little bit of slippery dirt, DG or whatever it is. Just something that you're going to get a mix of tractions and stuff like that. Take the knob, turn it all the way, maximum. Go ride it. Do roll-ons, do different things. So do it in one zone, another zone. Then take it, turn it all the way the other way, and do it, and see if you can feel a difference. So that's that's how you would get like sort of, is this thing working? What is it doing? Can I feel it? Mm-hmm. If you can't feel a difference, maybe
need a better test track, maybe.
Well, there's 2 things. Maybe it's not doing anything, or maybe you can't feel a difference. I have seen both examples. I mean, with riders that can't feel a difference, and I've ridden things that didn't actually do anything.
Do shit, yeah.
Oh, I mean, people have told me it does something, and I ride it and go, nope, it's not doing anything. And they're like, no, it totally does it. I'm like, no, it I'm telling you that my ass dyno or my traction control on my wrist is telling me that it's not doing anything. Oh no, it's totally doing it. And they think I'm full of stuff, and get a call a week later. Hey, okay, man, I feel sorry. I mean, back, when we were doing that thing, like, you were right. We didn't, like, there was a toggle switch inside of the thing that wasn't turned on or whatever, And so, I've had other times where I'm like, yeah, I can feel it, but I don't know what it's actually doing. And even I was just recently riding a bike, and I said, does traction control work above in the last quarter of the throttle. Like when I get to like half or above or 3/4 and above, is traction control still active? And they're like, yeah, it's totally active. I'm like, are you sure? And he goes, let me check. Because the guy didn't know. And
my bike has it. I just leave it on. I don't know what it does, but I just leave it there.
yeah, if you're happy with it, the way it works, I mean, it's a nice button. It's an extra button. It's like it's got a lot of showroom
It just
bounce.
stays there.
Yeah, it stays there. All this different thing. I freaking hate it. I hate traction control because generally, about the same time that it starts working, I've already, if I didn't want it to spin, I'm already doing something with my wrist, and then we get in a fight. Just like ABS on the street. When I get on my brakes really hard and the ABS starts kicking in, I start thinking that I'm skidding because of the way I'm moving. It's
unloads,
not gripping as much, and it unloads and does. And then we get in this fight and we make everything
and your
worse.
Your braking distance ultimately
goes farther. Yeah.
Worse.
So worse. So yeah. So how do you get the traction control? How do you get the most out of it? It's find out where you want it, because some people are ham-fisted and they need traction control. It helps them. Other people are really smooth with their throttle and they never kick it in. So at that point, you could learn you could learn to be a little more aggressive with your throttle, and then start feeling the traction control catch you, and you go, oh, I can be this much more aggressive, and then you could tune your dial so that it doesn't interfere with your riding. That's how it's used at a high level.
A good training tool.
Yeah. When you have, like, say, guys that are racing and how are they using, quote, traction control, which is illegal, by the way. And it's just sensing rate of RPM increase that's above what would be considered traction. You have somebody that they'll watch on the telemetry and see that, okay, this is kicking in, and they say, hey, do you want more or less? As opposed to you as a rider going, this is interfering with me, I have to tune it. So
it is still illegal at like Supercross and stuff?
Oh yeah.
And how many bikes have it? All of them?
Hey, they have GPS units inside of their ECUs, so and I don't know if you show me how many readings they're taking per millisecond, then I can tell you whether it's traction control or not. I think, but there's all different things. There's so there's lean angle sensors, there's pitch sensors, there's things that know what maximum acceleration rate would be, and so they can actually watch the acceleration rate and maybe where it slips. And I guarantee you that when you're looking at, like, let's say at the start straight of a Supercross, they look at the data that comes off that bike, and they may actually do some tuning based on, maybe there's a place where they come off of a turn or they go across the track and it's good traction, goes to slippery, and then goes back to good. Mm-hmm. They might do a little tweaking because they know exactly when that bike's going to be there. And if you ever see a bike with the electronic throttle,
so you're thinking that with a GPS they can have a different traction control for different locations on the track?
Yes,
awesome.
They could,
sure.
Yeah, whether they do it or not. I mean, because the problem is with really good riders, it interferes with what they do. But basically, on the start straight, this is where the start straight. They want to go from wherever they set that throttle, like when that little light comes on and they're sitting there on the start line, little lights on, and then at that point they literally just want to drop the clutch. They're going to tune that clutch. They can just drop the clutch, hold the thing wide open, and that bike basically lifts the wheel about 3 inches off the ground, and it never lifts it any higher. And they can hold the throttle wide open, and it goes. They're getting closer and closer to that. Well, right now there are bikes that have electronic butterfly valves, not a cable. And if they have that, and they might have a cable down, it may look like a cable going out instead of a wire going out of the throttle. Mm-hmm. Maybe a cable down to a box that does the same thing. If you can give a tuner control of that, he's going to make butterfly valve, and you give them some data to work with, they can make that thing work in incredible ways. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, it's that. So let's see. We'll go back to off-road dad. This is my first bike with an ECU, traction control on a get, dial is with one. Yeah, I have a KTM that has those settings, and I didn't like any of them. I wanted to go into so mine was on. I don't know if mine was on a get ECU or it was on it probably was a get, but I wanted to go in and tune the traction control, which I know you can if you have the super expensive computer program to do it, because I would like to make it work different, because to me I want traction control at upper RPMs, and I don't think it was doing anything up there. And if it was, it wasn't helping. At lower RPMs, I'm kind of catching it. So, let's see. Ron Wilder says, I've ridden XL and XXL of the same bike, and the smaller bike is much quicker steering. Okay, yeah, of course. We're talking about mountain bikes, and for sure that would be the case. And Ron, did I get the Mattighofen t-shirt pics? I might have, but was it during the break? Hey, speaking of that, I got a photo someplace. I think I have to go to that thing there. And one of these let's see. Here's what the Tech Talk Taco t-shirt looks like, especially when it's on me. Look. Oh, no, that's it. How about this? Look at that. There's the Tech Talk Taco t-shirt, but
you just put it on, didn't you?
Yeah, I just put it on. Like I'm ignoring one of my main sponsors. That's Climb. By the way, how did my Climb gear? I was easy to pick out with that Climb gear this weekend.
Not as easy as we were on the teal bike, but yeah.
Oh, the teal bike and the Climb gear was good.
You're easy to spot.
I was wearing the same that I wore in the Triumph intro. That's Climb's XC Light gear, and I love that stuff. Like for race gear. It's super light. It's vented. It breathes. Has a pocket. So if you want to do your own, I've got you in my pocket segment when you're riding your bike to share with all your friends, you can do that.
Yeah.
That's always good. Where did I hide the picture of? I had somebody sent me a shirt in. Let's see. I should put a Yamaha logo up here on the screen. There we go. Brought to you by Yamaha as well. So Climb's XC Light gear is awesome, and I had the Dakar gear in case it was extra cold.
I wore my Dakar gear, but
yeah, you wore a backpack too. You were going full trail riding.
I'm thirsty.
So I have no idea where that picture went. Let's see. Maybe there's another screen. Maybe I put it in the guest screen here. No, you can wear a Tech Talk Taco Tuesday t-shirt too. Yeah. That looks good.
My head, yeah.
It looks
look at my body. I haven't looked like that since I was like 18.
Oh yeah, it's there.
Who is the shirt model there?
I don't know. It's a generic shirt model or something like that.
Well, how does that work?
I don't know. Now I'm pissed because I had it all set up so that I could. Oh, these are pictures, by the way. We played this quickly during the thing. These are pictures of the Dust bike, if you're wondering. Really? So the first hour of the show, we had hour and a half. We had Colin from Dust Moto on talking about everything.
It's weird they called it Dust from Oregon. Don't they get to ride in wet dirt up there?
Oh, not on one side of Bend.
Oh,
out
really?
on the east side of Bend, it's cinder cones.
I've never been there.
It's definitely dust.
Okay.
So let's see. I don't see it here. I thought I could remember when you had that problem.
Was the cool thing about living there was you just got like rain every day.
Yeah. Do you remember when you had that problem?
I do. Yeah, I had that problem. That's good.
Yeah, you had an encounter with a cholla bush.
Oh yeah, face first.
I put the damn photo up here so that I could show you. Oh man, now I got to find Victor's bike to put it in Roost or Endo. We did pretty good. There was very few technical. We haven't even dropped. Oh, we've dropped 67 frames in this whole show, which is really not that bad. Let's see. Okay. Where is the pictures on my desktop? Maybe I have this, and
my cholla.
Yeah, I don't know where it went. It's time for technical difficulties. Plus that Mexican tea. Now I'm back to America.
You're back to you're back
to America with the tequila. So tonight's tequila samples. Here, Jimmy, go ahead and hold those things up.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah, I'll take your shirt off here. Just getting, that's what whiskey does to people. So let's show them that's the Mexican version. We'll start down south.
Yeah.
That's Addictivo, if you were wondering which one we had. That was a good one. Addictivo. I'm going to drag this over here.
So good. So good.
And this is the shirt. So thank you, Dave Donnelly, in between us having tequila here. Dave Donnelly, he's coming into the screen right now.
Yeah.
You know Dave? He's a local out here.
I met him
he tried
when we were out messing around at Vegas Torino on Tenerife.
Oh yeah, that's right. He tried.
Bumped into him at a bar.
He that's kind of a bar. It was an outdoor bar.
Yeah.
So Dave tried to sell me a Husaberg. This guy is a wheeler and dealer. So here's Dave wearing his Tech
He
Talk
worked
Taco.
a shirt from you. I can see that.
Yeah. He bought it. He bought a T-shirt. And look at Dave. Dave is a proud owner of a show dog. It's a show pony.
He's got a doodle thing.
Yeah, a doodle thing there, and he's got the nice T-shirt.
Somebody else too, but I can't think of where.
So I don't know what you win for this, Dave, but reach out. I know you will. Reach out. And proud owner of a Tech Talk Taco Tuesday T-shirt. He sent in a picture. And I know, Ron, you've been on this thing. You probably sent it to me. If you could resend it to me, kind of like the other guy that was going to resend it to me, I will make you famous on this show. I just made you famous, and you were picking your nose.
Yes, he did.
Okay, it's getting that hour of Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. Okay, that was the Mexican tequila. The American tequila tonight is blackened. So. Yeah, you got this for me a couple years ago, and it's been aging well.
Yeah, not bad.
Actually, not bad. It's like a really good Jack Daniels. It's got a little bit of that Jack Daniels kind of ish flavor to it.
Yeah.
So not too bad. I know we usually do tequila tonight, but we're trying to piss off all the Mexicans out there. Mm-hmm. Although the Mexican tequila is winning, don't give them anything to brew there. And then our Canadian friends, who was brought to us by our Canadian friends.
The Crown Royal, eh?
The Crown Royal. That's real Canadian hooch.
It's a staple, though.
It's a staple, yeah. There's a lot of people in Pahrump that really like that stuff.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I mean.
Not bad. Okay, so back to the questions. San Felipe Bob is cooking a turkey. Dude, how was dinner tonight?
Banger, Jimmy.
Yeah. What was it on the
sweet
scale?
Sweet potato chips that were
yeah. Homegrown sweet potatoes from my neighbors right next to my flat track.
Which that's kind of crazy, but maybe that's
So
so good. Yeah, it was a solid 9 of a dinner for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, 8.
Ribs, little bit of
ribs cooked in a pressure
pork ribs,
pot.
pressure pot with a little at the end, a little air fryer singe.
They were falling off the bone. That's how I like them.
Little rice.
Yeah.
All good.
Them chips though, that was impressive. That's the chef part. Hard to do that.
So San Felipe Bob likes his 300RR, which has a rain and sun switch.
Which I say is backwards on betas.
So this is where we get to that thing where different people ride in different parts of the power band and it responds differently.
I just mean that I think the sun should be
the sun one is the mellower one.
Rain, the rain one is mellower.
Rain one is mellower, but that's what you think, because rain makes it slippery.
But it don't. At least for a wheeler.
Oh. I'm thinking of the rest of the world, and you're thinking of this damn desert we live in. Yeah, rain. Oh yeah, exactly. Then flip it upside down. I don't know.
No,
I got
the same button.
When I ride it in the wet sand tracks, I do ride it in the rain mode when it's wet because it allows me to get onto the pipe better. I can go deeper in the throttle and it doesn't respond as much, and it pulls better. Yeah. So I actually kind of use them the opposite of, I guess, what they were intended to.
I get that.
And the rain map is great when I get tired, says San Felipe Bob. The sun map is best.
Is a blast.
Is blast. Okay.
Yeah.
Mike Kamet, who donated like $10 to us last week on the show.
Well, thanks, Mike.
Charity here. What was he saying?
Hoping to take your class at Tour Tech Rally in Central Washington, but doesn't look like you were there. Bummer. Not worth going for me. A no Jimmy class.
Whoa.
Wow.
That's nice. Thank you, Mike.
I want to go to that thing too.
I wish I was going there. Having some issues with insurance. Exactly. What a racket. So if I can get this sorted out, there's a chance, but I told them to take me off the list, and I'll let those other guys just teach you how to flap your arms around, and get your elbows up and grip with your knees and all the other stuff that you can mess up your riding with. Gonna resend which address? Send it to my name at Dirt Bike Test. So, and Ron says he hasn't looked like that since 5th grade. And Dave Donnelly says hi.
There's Donnelly.
Only because he just won something. I don't. Maybe he can win a a day at Dirt Bike Test intern experience.
He's local, man. Yeah. Come
Yeah,
on down,
you
Dave.
come over. So we always start in the morning we always start in the morning by petting the cat. We spend a lot of time petting the cat.
We'll let him in with a bottle of whiskey or
Yep.
tequila of his choice.
Oh,
right?
you know what? This is a mistake. And then we start washing bikes, Dave. That's the second thing we do. We always wash bikes, followed by air filters. And then make sure, let me turn this one on here. Chris Barrett.
We got a live call coming in.
Hello, Chris Barrett. You there? You
Yeah, I got
here?
him.
Okay, hold on. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. You happen to be live on Tech Talk Taco Tuesday.
Oh, it is Tuesday, isn't it?
It is Tuesday. I think I got your. Can you hear his? Is his voice going through the internet? I know it's coming in our headphones. Give us give us a sound check there. I got to boost you some here. There's a switch someplace here that's like gain. I think I just touched it. Well, maybe I pushed this button here on the phone.
I feel like that's the one.
There we go. We got you now. Welcome.
Oh, nice.
Welcome to Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. How can I help you?
I got some motorcycle questions.
Okay, yeah, we answer 9 out of 10 on this show without referring to a reference manual, but I have to warn you that we've had whiskeys from 3 different countries.
Yep.
Oh, nice. What about a Husaberg 570?
1 second, please. Yeah, anything. Yeah, well, the funny thing is when you say Husaberg 570, you are directly related to somebody that owns a Husaberg 570.
Exactly.
Part of the family. Yeah.
Part of the family.
Yeah, Pops Barrett. So welcome to the show, Chris Barrett. Chris has been co-host here before.
Has he?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Chris is a former Supercross and national motocross racer, dirt bike and dirt rider magazine, dirt bike test rider. When I can get him out of the camera cars, he comes and rides dirt bikes with me. And hopefully you're calling with a snow report or something like this.
That's what I was checking on.
Oh, I got you're Icon Pass buddy.
Oh yeah.
I got hookups up in Mammoth. If you pick me up tonight, I got a place to stay for the next couple of days.
You just went from Tech Talk Taco Tuesday to Tech Talk. I don't know a T that rhymes with that.
Right? Yeah. To Tech Talk skid on skis or
Toe-side
something
or whatever.
Yeah. So hey, we've reached 100 comments today with it's an award we just got on the Restream chats.
Dang.
Hey, so we had
nice.
we had Colin from Dust Moto. They're making electric dirt bikes made in America on the show earlier. How did you like that segment, Chris?
You talking to me?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You were talking to me this whole time?
Well, yeah, it was crickets. Yeah, I got crickets there. Yeah.
No, that sounds awesome.
Oh, you weren't listening live.
I was calling to see what's going on. I was not listening to the show.
Oh man, I got like there's 44,000 people listening to this show right now. I'm pretty sure that's what it is because you know how when they talk about really big numbers they don't put all the zeros.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's I see 44, so I figure at least one of those 44,000 people. So sorry for me to to overrepresent.
So usually I have Papa Barrett listen to the show. He fills me in on the highlights.
Uh-huh.
And then you're already done by the time I get to comment.
Got it. Yeah. Well, you can still leave comments on the chats on both Facebook and YouTube. You can always support us by clicking through our links. You go to dirtbiketest.com and up in the corner there's things to support us, and then you just buy. You're probably buying, let's see, Husaberg pistons and clutches and tires this weekend, right? Black Friday. Yeah. Or if you're going to buy, furniture, big household appliances, all that kind of stuff, use our Amazon link for sure. It helps us out.
Mm-hmm.
Can I also sell stuff on Tech Talk Taco Tuesday?
Wait, so do you have a bike for sale?
Always, for the right price.
Yeah, we have a segment called Roost or Endo, and it used to be called Roost, Endo, or For Sale, because people were using it as a platform to get a good boost on their bike sales. And I heard I sold a few bikes for some people. So
Actually, I think the last time I was on your show was at Mammoth.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah, you're up there working. I was up there. I was up there working the powder. So,
I'm still trying to figure out how to get on your program.
you used to be.
It used to be.
Yeah, you used to be. Yeah, it was a different times. So okay, so you don't have a motorcycle question. You just want to waste my time with skiing and snowboarding.
Pretty much. I kind of, I had that feeling you were stalling out on the show, and I figured you needed to ramp it up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the last time we hung out together, we paddleboarded our asses around where were we in Seal Beach or something?
Oh yeah, with suspension
Graham.
extraordinaire.
Yeah,
Graham Bro.
Graham Bro. Yeah. So yeah, it's somehow it's always work related. We're always talking. Actually, me and Graham talked a whole bunch of suspension that day.
And you made a pretty good cocktail.
Oh, that's right. Imagine that.
Not that it's all surrounded around, revolving around drinking.
Just all those things kind of happen together. Yeah. You have to have your downtime too, my friend.
Exactly.
Well, hey, Chris, thanks for calling into the show. I'm sure everybody wishes they had the.
That's it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure everybody wishes they had the hotline into Tech Talk Taco Tuesday like you. I mean, it's my wife usually calls. So it's like, yeah, it's Tuesday night. She's like, oh, I'm on the show. I'm like, yeah, you're on the show.
Thanks. Well, shit. Thanks for. Oh, I'm not allowed to cuss on it, or am I allowed?
Yeah,
right?
I clicked the "It's not made for kids" button.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my co-host isn't like 16 years old anymore, although he's heard more bad words than anybody. Okay, so no motorcycle questions then.
No, that's all I got.
Okay, well
So you didn't give me the snow report, but
it's
that's
good.
Right.
Oh, Jibber J, my buddy Jibber J posted a picture, and I'm surprised Marco's not in the chat. Marco's usually in there, like telling me, he's telling me how he's putting stickers all over my snowboard, and usually on the wrong side of the snowboard. I go up there, you know what would happen? Like if you're on like a trail ride with a bunch of your buddies and you're like kind of an a-hole, and then you park your bike with everybody else's bike, and the next morning you get up and your bike's all taken apart. Like that's what happens with my snowboard. Except it's done with stickers. Or all of a sudden I realize they set it up for a regular foot, and I'm goofy. They changed the camera. Yeah, you know what the worst part is? I hop on it and I ride it anyways because I don't know the difference. So,
all right. So no technical snowboarding questions.
No,
Gotcha.
I can't. That's not. I would refer you to the. Hey, have you ever heard of the Bomb Hole podcast?
No. That's
a really good show. Yeah, there's some good episodes. It's a snowboard show, and they do a really good job. And it's funny because a couple of my friends have been on there, and it's they've had moto athletes and stuff on there. It's pretty cool. So because they ask really like just questions you wouldn't ordinarily ask some of these athletes, and since they feel like they're outside of their realm, you get some good answers. It's cool. So are you driving by here? Do you need a place to stay? What's the you're back in California?
I was just in LA. I was in LA, so driving back home.
Right on. Okay, Chris. Well, yeah. And now I'm gonna hang up on you.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Awesome
Thanks
having you on the show, and we'll keep in touch. Yeah, I've got a little snow fever on me right now, so we'll work on this.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, see ya.
All right, bye.
That was Chris Barrett, everybody. Former motocross and supercross professional rider.
Really? Nice.
Awesome test rider.
Is he?
Like, yeah, he absolutely hates everything that I like, and I'm the same way.
The yin to your yang, huh?
Yeah, they were the complete opposites when we used to test, and that's why I liked him as test rider, because he's very articulate, could explain how things work, knew how to change settings and make the bike work properly for him. And I would ride it and I go, what are you thinking? It's kind of like riding Ricky's bike, but it actually worked for him. He was like, this is really good. And then he'd ride it and he'd go, what, good for what? And then he'd ride my bike. He was like, what are you thinking? And this is back when he was, professional supercross and motocross racer.
Yeah.
roll forward a few years, you retired, quit doing that and started, going trail riding a little bit more and stuff like that. Amazing how he came over to my side a little bit more.
More.
Yeah. Started realizing how my settings actually kind of work. He'd go ride some bikes, or I don't know, we raced some Grand Prix or something like that, and his bike worked like shit, and he'd try mine, and he'd go, oh my God, like, oh yeah, this setting's kind of good. But I only like to talk good things about myself. Okay. So Roost Endo. We got to go to do Roost Endo. We got to get this in
We got
here.
to do some Roost?
Yep.
All right.
More Road Racer 3R says MotoGP had corner by corner throttle maps years ago. The tech is out there.
There you have it.
This is true. Yeah. Thank you for.
I think I kind of knew that too, and maybe even in like Formula One or whatever they outlawed it.
Victor has to go to bed. He's saying cheers. So that means he's just going to get on a different device and start being more obnoxious. I'm sure. So we have this awesome segment brought to you by Taco Moto. It's Taco Moto's Rooster Endo on Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. Oh, we should probably promote the Hot Shoe Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing a Hot Shoe Hall of Fame hat. You can grab my, I'll hold the shoe. So the Hot Shoe Hall of Fame, you may not know this. I don't really like to talk about myself that much, but I'm in the Hot Shoe Hall of Fame.
I do know that. I kind of got a cool thing from them today, and I did it.
Oh, you submitted somebody?
No. They got, because Meekum coming.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they give you a code because I'm kind of.
Yeah, you get to see some cool bikes. You might want to buy some more.
$200, and I probably will buy some.
I want to go. We're going.
Yeah,
we're going to do
I
this.
signed up today. And with your membership, it's $200.
Wow.
But it's free with the Hot Shoe Hall of Fame.
So Hot Shoe Hall of Fame is Gene Woods, and it's a basically a chair organization, but it's also a really good recognition for two-wheeled guys, so moto guys, whether you came from the flat track world, speedway
is that where
world.
Gene came from? Is flat track?
Yeah, he was speedway
Speedway guy.
Gene's
wow.
picture's right behind me on the wall here. That's Gene right behind me. The guy going sideways with the 7-Up.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Feeling 7-Up. I'm feeling 7-Up.
Them speedway bikes are insane.
So it's in Vegas every year in January. They always try to combine it with that when that Meekum auction comes in, when there's a lot of moto people there selling some motorcycles. But it's a charity. They raise money to buy shoes. And him and Jerry Bernardo, maybe familiar. Yep.
Cool guy.
He writes that book right there.
Yep. Coffee brewed with Graveyard Mist.
Yep.
One of the funniest guys you'll ever know.
So they raise a charity to get shoes to the people in need, and there's definitely a lot of them around Vegas, and they've gone all over to different places that have flat track races, and they give people in need some shoes. That's why it's the Hot Shoe, and this is the Heart Shoe. That's what it's called. So if you're interested in that, if you know somebody that needs to be in that Hall of Fame that isn't in it already, reach out to me, Jimmy@dirtbiketest.com. And I will send you a link to fill out an application for them, and they will consider it. I actually have to write one for evidently a couple of people that I know. So I thought that's what maybe you did is try to abduct somebody.
Use that to get free into the.
And if you're part of the membership, if you're part of the group that goes that thing, they give you kind of cool opportunities and discounts. Like to go to that Meekum auction would be pretty cool. So it's a free event, by the way. You come, Gene rents out this big hall
downtown Vegas.
Yeah, on
Fremont Street.
I have to get down there and start practicing to defend my go-kart thing. There's go-kart races for like the hours before the event. There's go-kart bracket racing.
They're drifty carts too.
They
are not.
They're not fast, but they go sideways.
They're cool.
Yeah, they're fun.
They're a driver's sport.
Slippery. Yeah, so I managed to take the victory last year. I don't like to talk about myself.
Yeah,
but
no,
it gets old, doesn't it? So we're doing Rooster Endo. Back to that. So Rooster Endo, Taco Moto's Rooster Endo. I have the document right here. Jesus, it better reload, because if it doesn't reload, we don't. It's doing circles. We're not dropping any more frames. That's a good thing. Oh boy. I'm going to get the pictures up.
Yeah,
I'll get the photos up to start with. So I think there's a whole Rooster Endo thing here. Okay. It's going to sound like a redundant thing, but I can't believe that. Let me try to open up a new window over here. And and get the. I don't know what happened. I think when I opened it, there was an extra window popping up, and it did something funny. Okay, I think we're going to be okay here. There we go. So Roost Endo, this is John. No, it is not John Buck. This is Dave Donnelly's bike. I recognize it. Oh, it's no Husaberg. So this is Dave Donnelly's bike. Why don't you tell? I might even be able to. If you're telling us about that's right Candace's bike. I know I can't find my cursor. There it is. John. No, it's Dave Donnelly. I thought I put his information in here.
Jeff Franklin.
No. Dave. Shoot. You think I'm? Let's see. I wonder when he sent me that. There's meetings that are up. It's really kind of a mess over here. And Dave always sends it to my other emails. This is where the problem. I think we should just disqualify Dave just on the fact that we showed a picture of him and his donkey dog thing. All right. Okay, so this is Dave's bike. We'll just talk about it. 2019 KTM 500 EXC. Is that what I'm looking at?
Yeah.
Okay. He's got some sort of a side cover protection because he tips over too much.
All right.
He's got P3 pipe protection because he tips over too much.
Yep. Yeah, that's a P3 pipe guard, a Cheruby's tank, it looks like.
It looks like a Cheruby's tank. He has wraparound hand guards because he tips over too much.
Cheruby's again.
Right. And
I think I see a seat concepts with the bubble on it.
Okay. That's so you can sit down too much.
Sit down too much.
Right.
Stop. Yeah.
That's I can't really tell other things about it. Let me try to zoom in real quick. See if there's. Wait.
You think that's a 500? You'd say
that's for sure. It's a 500.
Okay.
Let's see. Here we go. So let's zoom in and see if there's. See if there's anything else we see on this particular bike. Yeah, he's got the protection cover on the thing. He doesn't have a disc rotor protector, which is really a shame because Bulletproof Designs makes nice ones. And if you don't like them, he's got a luggage rack on the back.
I say a little luggage rack, and I see an orange sprocket on it. So
orange
he's got
sprocket,
native super sprocks on there.
Yep. Looks like a nice bike. Looks like out in the woods someplace.
It's doing the right stuff.
Yeah, around there. Okay, Dave, you're disqualified because you sent in a picture last week.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, John Buckle.
We got
John Buckle. Now let me get. I don't know how I lose my cursor all the time. Why it doesn't cross over from one screen to the next. Yeah. I don't want to share another meeting, and I need to find that document again. Here we go. There we go.
All right.
There's John. That's his bike.
Here it is, a 2013 KTM EXCF 350. Been enjoying the different engine characteristics from years of riding an EXC 500. Short mod list. Bulletproof design radiator guards.
Sponsor.
Good idea. I need to do them. We've gone through like 2 radiators in the past month.
Yeah. When you buy the new radiator, get the guards because they're
never had them, and 2 radiators.
Yeah, well,
one was just from a creosote bush.
It doesn't take much.
Just one of those things. Recent suspension service, respring, and minor tuning by ESP.
Right, ESP is my buddy George. Yeah,
that's the dude we're talking about, right?
Get the Jimmy Lewis settings.
Get the JL settings. Yeah, rip it.
You know, every time somebody used to go in there and say that, it used to cost me $10.
I like his math.
Yeah. It was actually when he worked at Scott's. He worked at Scott's when George was the main tuner down there.
Oh, really?
And so I had a deal with Scott where he was paying me win bonuses, but I could have people go in there and they would get $20 off their suspension, but it would cost me $10 to send them in there.
Oh.
Scott would give him $20 off the suspension back when it was, $120 or something like that. $130. But so it would cost me money to give out this, to say, go down there and tell him my name. And it's just really good marketing on Scott's part, who's one of the cheapest screws I've ever met in my entire life. But what a great businessman.
Yeah.
And so I would say, so he would see that way how many people I was influencing.
Uh-huh.
it was a direct relation. It's like, this kid, I'm paying this kid money when he goes out and wins out in the desert, but what's he doing for me? He got to see exactly what he was doing
exactly
for me.
what it was.
Yeah. So, okay. So
he re-geared it 1451. KTM folding clutch and brake levers. But KTM hard.
I don't know the name of that tire company, but there's some tires with Nitro Mousse inserts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot the name. I forgot the name of that company. I used to use their tires all the time, but I'm gonna go Pirelli.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They teach you like a bigwig over at.
I got to do some stuff at Formula One. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. You're kind of
I have no problem saying that this bike Roost. It looks like he's riding some fun trails.
I like the
Yeah, it's
fun
got
trails, fun time,
lights on. It's a weird. I think maybe I distorted the angle with my thing there, but no.
Did the 16s come with silver wheels? I thought it was like the 14s.
Well, I think is that what he says? He said it was a 16.
Yeah.
No, it's 13. That's a 13.
Oh,
I've got
13s had silver wheels.
Yeah, I got a couple of those. Yeah, big axle. It's got the forks in it. The guy was asking about earlier.
It does, the Explorer.
Yeah, so definitely, John. That
bike Roost.
Definitely a Roost. So
I think those are those like stock. Those are Enduro Engineering handguards. I think too. Maybe
they could be stock. They look like stock off a newer.
I don't really know what the stock ones look
off
like.
Off of a newer year.
Maybe.
Let's see if I can make this thing zoom in and give it a good check out here. I have the controls to do this. Bad focus on the trees, though.
Yeah.
No, those look like. Well, they look different, doesn't it?
Like Enduro Engineering.
Don't they look like one of them's like one of them looks like a stock KTM?
Oh my God, you're right.
I don't know. I think it's just the angle and the color, the backlit light there.
Yeah, you're right. They're stock.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
good on them. Stock exhaust, keeping it quiet.
Got one of the little things to pick it up over on the back there.
Does it look lowered?
It does.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's got a grab handle too.
Yeah, so
he's got that Enduro Engineering grab handle on that thing.
Yeah.
Those are just wide enough so if you have fat knuckles like I do, you slide your hand in there and they go through and they don't come out. Yeah, you got to be careful with that thing.
Yeah, it's a one-way valve. It's a check valve.
Right on, John. Okay, so we're gonna
that bike's good.
We're gonna give you a Roost. This is Candace's. And don't say mean things about Canadians because it's Canadian.
I've had
Candace
Mazzalin.
Go ahead.
Attached to the photo, my 2016 KTM 250 XCW. Yes, I know there's shadows in the pictures, but I ride dirt bikes. I'm not a photographer. Wanted to capture the scenery too. The scenery's unbelievable on that, by the way.
Yeah, if there's single track trails through all those trees,
they're if it looks like it,
having a good time.
That looks like a single track that she's on right there.
Definitely a single track trail there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. About the bike, the front tire is a Dunlop 34 with a Nitro Mousse. Rear is a Dunlop AT81 gummy with tube. Enduro Engineering rear shark fin. Enduro Engineering handguards. Attack graphics, gripper seat. EMIG ODI grips, 51 tooth Renthal rear sprocket, fancy pants orange, love her. I like her the way she talks. Gold RK narrow O-ring race chain. That's a good chain. Huh?
Super fancy.
Yeah, super fancy and will last a long time too. Fancy pants orange anodized kickstand. Really? But who made that? Doesn't say. FMF turbine core muffler and matching gnarly pipe with P3 carbon fiber pipe guard and skid plate. Flow radiator guards, fancy pants orange again. Astra lowered bars, I don't know what those are. Removed the headlight, taillight, and odometer due to extreme riding area, mud, rock, and ultra tight trees. Removed to prevent damage as I cause enough damage on my own. High hour bike. Overused but not abused, except for the odd drop. I prefer 200. I prefer the 250 to the 300. If I need more power, I'll just roll on the throttle.
Right. That's a good
She's
thing
a bit of a thinker, ain't she?
Yeah, that's the way.
She didn't even put that it has pro action suspension on it.
Right. What are we looking at here? I'm looking
I thought you said it had Enduro Engineering handguards, but I don't see handguards, but
let's see. Yeah, they're just the wrap. These shouldn't have the flags on them.
Oh, they're just the bars.
Yeah, all she has is
Okay.
yeah, just
It
the
doesn't have the actual plastic part.
yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
man, that's good.
it's got all the equipment. That
It's
thing was
dirty. It's
that
dirty
thing
in
was
the right ways.
ridden hard and put away wet.
Like it?
What is it with all these like, vintage KTMs, 2016?
Yeah.
I had a 2016 200 that was really good, but it was funny because like KTM made kind of a jump shortly after that. That was like 2017. They did something different that made the bikes work just a little bit better. I don't know, but it's a good.
What the heck's a Astra? Are those the handlebars?
Astra handlebars.
It says Astra lowered bars. I don't know what Astra is.
It's probably a bar brand.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
I've never heard of them.
Can't see. Like she said, the photo's crap. She called herself out on that.
Yeah, that's okay. We love you.
Yeah.
That bike it's in a cool
It's more about the scenery here.
Does she say where she's from?
Canada. Canada, eh?
Good A, mate.
Yeah. So bike's definitely done some roosting.
That's wrong.
It looks like it
I
does
like it.
it currently roosts. That's good. And now we have to
you can tell by the way she talks about her bike, she likes her bike.
yeah.
She loves her bike. I always dig people that love their bike.
Right.
I don't care. If you love your bike, amen.
Right. It's almost like she wishes she had a Husaberg, but it just has to be this KTM. That kind of love affair.
I got though.
Okay, going with Roost on this one.
A total Roost, yeah.
Right?
Not a lot to Endo on it.
No. So I think that's it.
Hours, that's a good thing.
I actually can't go get Victor. I thought about it. I could while you were talking. I was like, I get Victor's, but then I would close down this screen and you wouldn't be able to see the thing. So Victor, you're gonna have to
day for Victor.
Yeah, you're gonna have to resend in that. He has a picture of his IT 175 or something racing it on the pavement in Huntington Beach.
Oh,
so now we're at the point of this game where we decide the winner. Somebody is going to win a $100 gift certificate from Takamoto. That's takamoto.co. So if you need stuff for your KTM or your Honda, they have Honda stuff. They have all different kinds of things. They really specialize in the KTM brands, the Austrian brand stuff. They have a lot of databases about what can make your bike better. And I have a cat that's clawing my ass because she probably wants to go out and kills things. She'd kill me if I died, or she'd eat me at least.
Oh yeah, your eyes are gone first, buddy.
Really? The eyes?
I think so.
Okay. I don't want to think about this.
Good idea.
What are you thinking?
I think I made my choice up. I know where my vote's going.
Hey, I got a question. So okay, you did?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. I think I know where you're going.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
I'm going on the 250 here.
Going with Candace.
Yeah, with Candace.
Okay. I tend to agree because I do feel the love for the bike.
You feel the love for the bike in that.
Yep.
That right.
I was going to go with John for a while because
definitely nothing. Yeah, he's got some BPD stuff.
He pimped one of our sponsors
for sure
right away. Candace is like running a little light on our sponsor list, but she'll be part of the Takamoto crew with their $100 gift certificate. So Candace, I'm going to be sending you out an email tomorrow. Hopefully you don't not use the email you sent it to me like the guy last week who's now contacted me on like 5 different emails wanting to know why I haven't got back to him because I get back to him on the other email, but I will send you back an email with the information you need to get taken care of by Takamoto. And what should she buy for her bike?
What should she get? Well, I would think the little plastic parts for the handguards would be a good idea, but those trees, right?
Yeah, some people don't like them, but
really,
I don't know why. She's got that bike. It's kind of one of those things that doesn't really need anything. It's not like it's like crying for something, but handguards for sure wouldn't hurt. Maybe one of those covers for the clutch cover in case of one of those. What does she call it?
You get some more fancy pants stuff.
Oh, she get more fancy pants. They have fancy pants stuff.
Lots of fancy pants.
Lots of fancy pants. She was saying she causes enough damage on her own. Yeah. So, okay. Well, sounds good. I think we're getting ready to getting close to wrapping up this show. Going for, 2 hours and 23 minutes. Jimmy, what the hell?
Look at that. Time flies when you're having fun.
So thank you.
What do you think about our tire choices? The gummy in the rear, and with the moose up front.
For trail riding, that's fine.
I think that's a pretty good combo too.
Good deal. Back to the quick comments, and Astor bars are very flat. Thanks, Ron. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. George John Buckle says George didn't really want to do the JL tune to a noob like me. Oh, George from the suspension. Oh, well, actually, I should. Yeah, John double dipped in the sponsor thing. So, the JL tune. He says my tune isn't good enough for novices. Well, just tell him you're going to ride faster. Just because the suspension will make you ride faster, it'll work perfect. Why wouldn't you? Dave says his bike's a 2017, so I was wrong. Which there's a first time for everything. And Don't says, sounds like my kind of bike with all the tip over protection. Yeah.
I think that's Don T, really, but whatever.
Don T.
I like Don.
Yeah, Don't. He's a big D. Okay. Well, I wonder if we got any comments over from what do they call that? Twitch. We were live on Twitch again. Because we had electric.
I don't know where that is.
It's like where some of the kids go for the gaming.
Yeah.
Since we had an electric bike guy on there, I figured we could do some influencing over on the Twitch side of things. See how much that works. And like I said, when you were a kid, did anybody tell you were full of shit?
Yeah, every day.
Okay. So you know what you say now? You're full of content. Yeah, you're full of content. Feel free to steal that from me. It's okay.
Yeah,
and with that, we are going to shut off this wonderful, horrible thing. Selma, making a guest appearance again on the show. Come on over here, bud. Quit licking the microphones. Come on, bud. Say hi to the fans. I'll put you on the... Now, look at there's Selma. This is worth another 22,000 views. We're just having a cat on there.
You just hashtag cat or
happy cat, yeah. So we'll see. We're gonna get some screenshots from that right there. That's gonna be the bumper in this thing. So everybody, cheers. We'll see you out in the trail. Until next week, and maybe if I used to have like an outro or something like that. You're purring the microphone, buddy. I know how to shut this show off somehow or another. If you liked what you saw in this video, come check us out over at dirtbiketest.com on the webs. We have bike tests, product tests, a lot of fresh dirt, and you can even support us by clicking through our links. Hopefully, we'll see you out in the trail.